Usually what I've been doing is introducing or like addressing the audience at the beginning of the podcast and telling them I'm sitting here with blah blah blah, who is this and that, and I've been trying to get away from it because first of all I mess up names and I also mess up like who they are, what they're doing, and then even when I get it right I feel like why would I want to start off by putting like labels on people? Maybe it's a bad start. So I decided to stop doing that. And just, starting the conversation. Yeah. And what's a better time to do that than with someone who has an Icelandic name? Yeah, exactly.
Like you would butcher my name completely.
Like I could be practicing here for 2 days and still I'm going to mess it up. So I figure this is the opportunity I've been looking for to make a change.
Exactly.
So we're recording. We're in this. So Páll is what like people in Sweden call you.
Yeah, basically. But like my name is Páll.
Páll.
Yeah, but it's not a K. It's like a double L. It's a weird Icelandic sound. Yeah. It's the same like when you had the volcano that erupted like I don't know how many 15 years ago or something that grounded all the flights in Europe.
Yeah.
They had the same double L sound. Mm-hmm. But I had it twice in the name. No.
That's the Eyjafjallajökull.
Yeah, Eyjafjallajökull.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, you actually said pretty good. I remember we were at, we were in like English class in like, I think it was like 8th grade or something. Right. And then we were watching these videos of like newscasters trying to say the name of the volcano and they butchered it every single time.
You guys must have been laughing your ass off.
Oh yeah, we were like a fucking idiot. Like who do you think they are? They're always like, yeah,
it's a difficult one.
Oh yeah,
it's a very difficult one. Yeah. How do you say your full name?
Páll Sigurvin Magnússon.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and like almost all people in Iceland have a middle name as well.
Okay.
It's kind of I don't know if it's tradition or just the way it is. But like all of like my entire family has a middle name, except for my mom actually.
Okay.
And she is one of the few people in Iceland who has a family name.
Okay.
Because family names are not really common in Iceland.
Is there a difference here between family name and surname, last name?
Yeah, because like in Iceland it is...
like a first name that is passed down.
No, it's last name that is passed down. Because in Iceland it's always you get your dad's name. So I'm Magnússon.
Okay.
So son is because my dad is Magnús. And I'm a guy.
So that's the standard.
Yeah, that's the standard.
Most people get their dad's name plus son or daughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And my sister is Magnúsdóttir. So that's like the norm. But my mom actually has a last name, Fandal.
Fandal.
Yeah, so my mom is Hrönn Fandal. So she doesn't have a middle name. So her name is quite unusual in Iceland, you would say. But it's still not that unusual, but it's uncommon.
Right.
Most people don't have family names. Or like we have, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 that are semi-common, but most people don't use them.
That's very interesting. I wonder how that happens. Like, I guess probably at some point most of the Nordics had that system.
Yeah, I think so. But I think like also because probably like 1,000 years ago that was like the custom. I think. Like, that's the only reasoning I would say, because Iceland was so isolated for such a long time that we didn't update the system.
Right, you kept the tradition going.
Yeah, exactly. But I have no idea if that's correct or not.
Do people find it weird when someone like your mom actually has a family name?
No.
Is that like a strange thing?
No, not really. But I don't know. We don't really think about those types of things. In Iceland, we're very pragmatic, I think, thinking.
You have bigger issues to worry about.
Exactly. like throughout like Icelandic history.
Surviving.
Yeah, basically. Like Icelandic history, like when like Sweden or Germany or whatever were building like castles and making cities, we were just like trying to survive in this shitty place in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's rugged.
Yeah.
We've talked about it in the past. Like I've been to Iceland once, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah,
like the nature is stunning.
Yeah,
but I don't look at it and think like, oh, this would be a nice, comfortable place to live.
Exactly. It is now, today.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, my grandma was talking about stories and, like, the things they had to go through just to get food.
Yeah.
And they had, like, because you obviously didn't have any refrigerators or anything, So they would dig holes in the ground to make like an improvised fridge during the winter.
Right.
And then they would salt everything and put everything in like lye or like sour everything.
Right.
Way to preserve food. So like everything was either salted or soured. All meats and fish and everything during the winter.
And your grandma was doing this?
Yeah.
Like in her youth or throughout her life?
In her youth, mostly. Because my hometown, I think it was around like 20s or 30s or something. We had a lot of herring in the north of Iceland. And I'm from like, my hometown is literally the northernmost town in Iceland.
Okay, cool.
And we had a lot of herring, and the Norwegians came and taught us basically how to fish for herring. And there was this boom of like the fishing industry. So my hometown at one point was one of the bigger towns in Iceland.
Okay.
We had like 10,000 people there living at one point. And the town hasn't gotten any bigger or like smaller since then. So literally
it stayed
the same. And like now they live there around 1,000 people. So think about how crammed everybody was at that time. Like we have this old, we call it the Herring Museum. And
the Herring what?
Museum.
Oh, museum.
And they have this, like the bedrooms were basically like you had, these beds were tiny and you had two people sleeping like together in these tiny ass spaces.
Yeah.
Because heating was so expensive. So you would use each other's body heat basically to survive the winter. And it's a fun experience going to the museum. Like I've been there, I don't know, hundreds of times now. So for me, it's like, this thing.
Yeah, you know about it.
Yeah, exactly. But then people who come for the first time, they can see like how it actually was back then.
It's super interesting. Like just 2 generations ago, like your grandma's generation had to dig holes in the ground and keep their food. I've heard of people doing that. Yeah. But you know, you hear it here, it's like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels like.
Yeah. But like my grandma, it's like it's not that long ago. My grandma is 80.
Yeah.
So it's not like she's 100 years old or anything.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, rough life out there.
Yeah, definitely. And like when my mom was a kid, they would have a big barrel of like salted meat outside.
Okay.
They would just keep outside during the winter, and it would freeze, and then like periodically during the winter they just go to the barrel, grab some meat, and cook that.
Do people still do the digging a hole and keeping stuff in the ground?
We actually had like not in town because all of the towns in Iceland have electricity. Yeah.
I don't mean like because people have to. I mean more like, is it something still done? I know there's, I think it's a Norwegian like traditional dish that is also cooked that way.
Yeah.
Underground.
Yeah, we have a similar one. We would have like a leg of lamb, and we would wrap it in aluminum foil.
Yeah.
And then dig a hole, put coals in the bottom, and then just fill the hole in and put the lamb there and slow cook it for hours.
Right.
And it's delicious. It's so good.
It takes a lot of work, but I can imagine it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I remember my mom's family had like a cabin in the middle of the countryside and didn't have electricity. And it had running water, but no hot water.
Okay.
So when you took a shower, it was just cold. And we wouldn't go there during the winter because
it freezes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there we had this updated version of this hole, is where they dug a hole and then we had
I like how you phrase that. The updated version of this hole.
Because they had
hole 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. Because they had a spring that came up just right next to the house, freshwater spring.
Oh, okay.
Because because freshwater springs, they don't freeze over during the winter because there's constantly movement on the water. And they had put like racks and built like a wooden structure inside and had like racks. So you would put all like the soda and stuff we had there in that fridge.
Right.
And it just had like a metal door. So we went there during the summer, and that's the only place things would keep cold.
Ah, right.
And because of the spring water is like around, I don't know, 2 or 3 degrees. So it'd keep cold during the summer as well.
Right.
Even though it's maybe 15, 20 degrees outside.
So it sounds like obviously because of the nature being as rough as it is, people have had to learn how to live with it and utilize it.
Exactly, to their advantage.
Pretty much live in harmony with nature in a way that maybe many other places don't.
Yeah.
Is that still like noticeable in Iceland today? Like a lot of countries are trying to do green project and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is Iceland ahead of the curve when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I think definitely, because all of our power is hydroelectric.
Right.
So we don't burn any coils, we don't burn any oil. All our power comes from basically the greenest source. It's 100% renewable. So all houses in Iceland their electricity comes from hydroelectric power.
Yeah.
And all our warm water comes from the ground.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter where you like dig in Iceland. If you just go far enough down, you're gonna find hot water.
Yeah.
Because it's all like volcanic systems under everything. So every single town, for example, like my hometown of 1,000 people, has its own drill hole for hot water.
Interesting.
And then like the water pumps that pump the water up from the ground are powered by the hydroelectric power.
Right.
So it's completely green, completely renewable.
Nice.
So I think Iceland is ahead of the curve in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, I don't know, it's easy for us because we have so many rivers and so much fresh water. Like most countries don't have that situation.
Of course. You got to work with the geography you have.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Iceland is ahead of the curve in that sense. And also like the recycling in Iceland is very strict as well.
Right.
Like I remember me and my girlfriend were talking about it. Like she came to Sweden and they're like, oh, we're really good at recycling and all that stuff. And she was like, no, you're not.
So tell me about it. How does recycling work in Iceland?
We have 5 different types of bins.
Okay.
So we have like common like shit that we throw away.
Banana peels, eggs,
you have
eggshells.
You have mulch, which is like organic.
Oh, okay.
And then you have like everything that is not organic or like common trash.
Right.
So like aluminum
papers, aluminum foil.
Yeah, aluminum foil, everything that can't be recycled. Like aluminum foil when you have like cooking or like a packet of, I don't know, bacon or something and has like bacon grease inside it. You can't recycle the plastic because of the organic matter inside it.
Oh.
You would have to wash it first and then recycle it. So stuff like that. And then we had paper, which is recyclable. Then we had plastic. And then we have bottles as well. So we have 5 different types of...
Well, that's not crazy.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy, but it's...
I think I've seen 5 here as well.
Yeah.
Probably in some of the more organized places.
Yeah. But that's like... It's written in laws in Iceland that you have to...
And if you don't, what happens?
I don't think they're like actively checking really for like...
You don't get tossed in a volcano?
No, not really. We only do that to tourists.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. But I don't think they're checking like personal houses or households. Okay. But I think if you're caught, like especially companies, if they're caught not recycling properly, they get massive fines. Like massive fines.
Interesting. I guess when you're living on such a tiny island, that kind of stuff becomes way more important than in a bigger country.
Yeah, also because we really love our nature. So we try to take care of our nature because like for me, like I grew up around nature. Mm-hmm. Like I grew up in this tiny ass town inside a fjord and I could walk like mountains every single day if I wanted to. And you would drive 10 minutes in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So like nature has always been a big part of my life, and especially people live outside of Reykjavik. Like I'm not going to talk for people in Reykjavik because I haven't lived there. I don't know what their mentality is.
Yeah.
But like the small town mentality is like you take care of your nature and you try to take care of it as well as you can.
Makes sense. Yeah. That's how everyone everywhere should be.
Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of funny how we don't have that connection in a lot of parts of the world.
Yeah. Because you get desensitized from like the nature.
Because we live in
cities,
like concrete, which is trash. I mean,
basically,
concrete is like dead, like matter material that we just put all over nature. We just level nature and we put our trash on it.
Exactly.
And then we're like, don't litter.
Yeah, don't do it. Like, and everybody's throwing something like plastics and shit.
It's an unfortunate disconnect.
100%.
I mean, I'm pretty much a city kid.
Yeah.
I love being out in nature, but I don't do it much. I like walking by the water and stuff like that in the summer, but that's pretty much it. I don't like go hiking and stuff like that. But if I lived in a fjord, I think I would appreciate it quite a lot.
And also because when I remember, again, my girlfriend was talking about when she first moved here.
Yeah.
And she's from a bigger town. She's actually from the second biggest town in Iceland. Mm-hmm. But that's only like, I think it's like 19,000 people today. It's massive. So like, you can see like the scale of the towns in Iceland, they're all quite small.
Yeah.
It's only Reykjavik, and that's even compared to anywhere. It's still quite small. It's
what is it, like 300,000, something like that?
No, 120, 150.
Wait, all of Iceland is
380, 50, 80.
Right. I thought it was around 400,000, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I think it's between 350 and 400, somewhere like.
Okay, and Reykjavik is 180, you said?
Yeah, 100. I think around 150. I think. I don't know the exact number.
Okay, yeah.
But so that's like the only place where you can't drive for 10 minutes and be outside, like directly in nature.
You gotta drive 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. You have to drive far.
The commute is hell.
Yeah. And I remember my girlfriend moved here and she asked her classmates, like, where can I go to get some nature? I'm like, oh, you can just go here. That's nature. And my girlfriend's like, no, that's a park. Like, that's not nature for me. Because nature for us is completely wild.
Yeah.
Or like, you have nothing around you. Like, you climb one mountain in my hometown and you're literally alone.
Yeah.
Like, you could scream on the top of your lungs and nobody would hear you.
That is cool. And in some ways scary.
Oh, yeah.
How far out have you gone? Like, how lonely does it get and how scary does it get out there?
Like, when in my hometown, I'm not going on big hikes or anything like that. So, like, you're isolated, but not isolated. It's maybe like 3-4 hours walked back to the town or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a little bit more, depends on where you're walking. But you never feel like you're like alone or like isolated. But I've been like on, because we had horses when I was younger, or actually we still do, but I haven't really been riding for the past few years. And we used to go on these horse trips.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would go like kind of in the middle of nowhere and you'd be hours away from everything.
Yeah.
And like there you feel like even though you're in a big group, you feel kind of like I'm just in the middle of nowhere. Like there's nothing around me. And then my dad and my sister, they went like across the highlands in Iceland.
Okay.
And there you're like days from civilization. And they're just like go to and sleep in some random mountain cabin that they have. And half of the people would sleep outside because there wasn't enough space for the cabin and stuff like that. So like you can get very, very remote. That's,
did they go by horseback?
Yeah.
Across?
Yeah. Because you can't really, like in the highlands, you like during the summer you can. There are some roads, but not many. So, and like, you don't know, like, after the winter, what the winter did to the roads. They could have, like, taken the roads apart, so, like, you can't really...
They're not reliable.
No, definitely not. So, like, on horseback, you can't get where you're going.
Right.
But by car, you can't really... Like, and even if you're just in a front-wheel drive car in summer, even though there's no snow, you're screwed. Yeah. Because, like, the roads are quite bad.
Are there... dangerous animals, like when you've been out?
No, we don't have. We have a saying that nothing kills you but yourself in Iceland. It's your own stupidity that kills you in Iceland. Because we don't have any snakes, we don't have any big predators or anything like that.
What's the most dangerous animal in Iceland? After human beings?
Probably a horse.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Because like we don't have the biggest like predator we have are foxes.
Okay.
And then we have like...
And they don't mess with us.
No, not really. They run away. But they're cute.
Yeah. Are Icelandic horses aggressive?
No, definitely. We don't have any.
What are they called? The full blood Icelandic.
We have. I think it's just called the Icelandic horse.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we have a specific. Or like that's the only name I know of.
Yeah.
But they are different from the European horse because they're quite smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the Vikings brought them over like 1,000 years ago, they had to take the smallest horses to fit on the boats.
Right.
So that's how like the Icelandic horse evolved to be quite small.
Right.
But they're also really, really hardy. They can survive being outside the entire winter without any intervention from humans.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
We like kidnap these animals. We're like, come over here.
Put you in this shitty place, and now you just have to survive this.
And the ones that survive, like they make an entirely new breed that's like crazy strong.
Yeah. And like they're tiny, like compared to like a normal Icelandic horses, goes maybe up to your shoulders,
right?
Something like that. Like their back is like 160, I think normally. So they're quite small, but they're really, really strong.
Yeah.
And they can go for hours. Like I've been on horseback constantly for like 8 hours.
Right.
And they don't really feel it, or like they don't tire out.
That's so cool. Can the same be said about the Icelandic people?
Yeah, we're very stubborn as a people, and we don't really. We just like we have a saying called it is "tataratast."
Tataratast.
Yeah, it's basically everything's gonna be fine.
Okay.
Like everything's gonna like so like when something shitty happens, it's like it's gonna be fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the mentality of the Icelandic people. Is that like it's gonna be fine? Like.
Are you also short and sturdy like the horses?
We're actually like I'm average and I'm 180.
Okay.
So I think like we're not the tallest people, but we're not the shortest people.
I think that's taller than the average in Sweden.
I don't know
I
actually.
think it's 178.
Oh really?
I think so.
So I'm tall here.
Yes. Above average.
Yeah, above average. I'm directly on the average in Iceland. Like directly 180. So nice. we have like obviously we have people who are like 2 meters and people who are 160, which is normal. But yeah, I think we're stubborn, sturdy people mostly.
Would you consider yourself pretty average in other ways, like an average Icelandic man?
No,
like mentality-wise, or
like mentality maybe, but I'm a lot more social than a lot more outgoing.
Right.
Because most Icelandic people are a little bit drawn back.
Right.
They're kind of like most northern countries or Scandinavian countries, I would say. They are a bit more like keep things close to the chest.
Yeah.
But I am more like outspoken and more going and like to socialize with people and talk to people. But the Icelandic people are like in general very nice people and very kind people.
I definitely felt that way when I was there.
Oh really?
Yeah. Everyone was super nice.
Yeah. So like as soon as you get it across that like small barrier, then the Icelandic people will do like anything for you basically.
Yeah. No, I had a great time, and it's so cool to drive around the country because it's so close between like very different types of nature.
Oh
like the most magnificent waterfall ever, and you drive like 5-10 minutes and you have like a geyser, and then 5-10 minutes and you have like a glacier you can walk on. Like this is all so close to one another, and you can experience like something that doesn't even exist anywhere else pretty much. It's crazy.
Yeah, and also like the nature is very different from where we are in the country.
Yeah.
So like the north where I'm from, we have a lot of like jagged mountains, especially like in my hometown, because I live on like a peninsula.
Right.
A small peninsula, and we have like these 3 fjords on top of the peninsula. And there's my hometown, the farthest on the west side, and then another town on like the east side, or the easternmost fjord. And they have one uninhabited fjord in the middle. And the towns like in my hometown are like very jagged, like kind of look like teeth.
Right.
Like canines.
Yeah.
And it was actually called the entrance to hell. Like that part is called Tröllaskagi.
Okay.
And it was called the entrance to hell because the mountains were so jagged.
Yeah. Looks like Mordor.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
They might have recorded some scenes over there. They probably did. Lord of the Rings.
No, I think all was...
was on New Zealand?
Yeah, I think so. But I like... there are a lot of movies that have been recorded.
Can imagine.
Yeah, and like...
Space movies.
Yeah, space movies. And like all of the scenes from like North of the Wall in Game of Thrones.
Right.
All of them were recorded in Iceland.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Because like... it's kind of you kind of think about
that is what North of the Wall is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you. So you were saying the jagged mountains on one side.
Yeah. Then you have, and when you go like to the south side, there you have like a lot of waterfalls, and you have like the glaciers, and then on the east side you have a lot of fjords.
Right.
Like, basically, the entire east coast is just fjord after fjord after fjord, just continuous fjords.
Gorgeous.
And then on the west side, we have like this big peninsula that comes there. And that's beautiful. I only been there once when I was a kid. So I don't remember like really accurately how it was. Yeah. But it is beautiful.
Yeah.
But it takes a long time to drive there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because because obviously we have no trains.
Right.
Iceland. Not a single train.
No trains at all.
And like communal traffic, or like, what do you say? Like, how do you... like buses.
Public transportation.
Yeah, public transportation is shitty in Iceland. Okay. So like everybody has a car.
I guess that makes sense when it's so small.
Yeah, because like the communities are so small.
Yeah.
And like the infrastructure isn't really there. Like all of our roads are single lane.
Right.
Like any road you're driving is a single lane road.
I can imagine like the main way to transport stuff has for so long been the sea, by water.
Yeah. It's like we import so much.
Yeah.
Like we import all of our like fruits, most of our vegetables.
Yeah.
A lot
and pretty much every community is on by the water. Nothing like inside of Iceland.
No, definitely not. Yeah. We have a few that are like a little bit more inside of the country, especially on the south side. But you can't live in the middle of the country.
Right.
Because it's just all mountains and like Arctic deserts, what's it called? Like we have the biggest desert in Europe, in Iceland.
Interesting.
Which is kind of backwards when you think about a desert.
What does that mean? What's an Arctic desert?
It's basically black sand desert, basically.
Oh, there's black sand.
Yeah.
Volcanic sand.
Volcanic sand.
That's
There's
cool.
just massive like spans of just black sand and nothing grows there. I've been there once.
That's gotta be a cool sight.
Yeah, because you have like this just black sand and then just mountaintops like sticking out at random places.
Crazy.
So like and then there like nothing grows there.
Yeah.
So it's a bit surreal.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, everything over there looks like some kind of space movie.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Something insane.
Yeah.
All right, so you mentioned your hometown. What's it called?
Siglufjörður.
Siglufjörður.
Yeah, it's basically like the English translation is sailing fjord.
Sailing fjord.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's a small 1,000 people town, and for me, I would say the best place to grow up because you get all the freedom you want. Like,
yeah. What did you appreciate about growing up there?
But it's just the freedom you had as a kid. Like you could do kind of whatever you wanted within reason, but like you would just when I was 5 years old, I would just say to my mom, "I'm going out." Okay.
Yeah.
And I would be out the entire day.
I guess everyone knows one another.
Yeah, exactly. So like you think like the saying that the community raises the child.
Yeah.
It is very prominent in my hometown because
I can imagine.
Whenever like if me and my friends were doing something we shouldn't be doing, then like a random mom saw us doing that, and then they would just call my mom because everybody had everybody's number.
Yeah.
And then my mom would come and like, "What are you doing?"
Snitches get stitches.
Oh yeah, 100%. yeah. Then we would start like we were knocking on her door during the evening and running away.
Yeah, of course,
like we picked out people like.
This goes both ways.
Oh yeah.
We know where you live too.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And like the random shit we used to do is like we would decide, like I remember one time I was at my friend's house and it was like 1 a.m. And we were like probably like 9 or 10 years old. And his parents weren't home, but they were having like a dinner with their friends basically on the street over. And he had this had the road and a bit of a hill and then the backyard of that place. They were having a barbecue at that place. So we just walked to the road and just called, "We're going for a hike." And they're like, yeah, fine. See you later. So we just started walking up the mountains.
Damn.
And we came back at like 6 a.m. or something. And like
that's a lot of freedom.
Yeah, and we would be climbing in the cliffs and some quite dangerous stuff. But when you're like 10 years old, you don't realize it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And like we would fall and we came back all bruised.
Yeah.
And like when we were coming back, like settled like dew all of the grass, so it was quite wet and slippery. So when we were coming back, we would just slide down the mountain, and my entire back was bruised. But like when you're 10, you don't you just stand up and that's good, keep going. You don't really feel it, but you're just made of rubber when you're. Oh yeah. When you're a kid.
Those were the days.
Oh yeah.
Like you could fall from a tree and be like, "Ouch!" and then
you stand up and keep playing. Yeah. Now you sleep wrong and like, "Oh fuck."
You know what I worry about now?
What?
Not that I worry about it, but what it like. I think about it every now and then. When I'm walking on a pavement and I want to like step down on the street, you know, there's like a 10-20 centimeter.
Yeah.
I just think like, what if I just mess up that step?
Yeah, and just twist your ankle.
Twist my ankle and like hit my head on the concrete.
Yeah.
That sometimes strikes me like that. This is a danger that can happen.
Yeah.
That's how much of a pussy you become when you're older.
Yeah, exactly.
So like walking down from the pavement to the street is like, oh, this is a death trap.
Exactly. What if a car comes at the exact moment?
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, you just run or like whatever.
Yeah.
I remember the day after, I was taking a shower and I took my shirt off, and my mom was like, "What happened to you?" And I was like, "I don't know."
Sounds so fun.
Yeah, and it was like, I think like the freedom and the sense of community that you had is like the part that I really appreciate from growing up there.
How is the sense of community instilled? Like, is there a lot of communal activity?
No, it's not because like everybody by his name in the town, and we don't really have activities. But I just remember like as a kid, like we would meet up like at the school grounds, or we'd meet up at the football field or wherever, and then you just had 100 kids because that was the place everybody met up.
Right.
And then you would either go play football, or you would go down to the pier and fish, or you would go jump in the ocean if the weather was nice. And so like you had always like a central place where kind of everybody would meet up. Then you just had a big group of 100 kids just going around everywhere.
Right.
And then like you would just, my friend would say, "Oh, I have dinner like at my house now. Like, do you want to come?" And, yeah, sure. So I just go to him for dinner that night, and then my other friend the other night. So you kind of, it was just so natural, kind of. You just, you weren't forced together. You just naturally gravitated towards each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that from my youth, but it was more like basketball courts. Everyone, all of my friends were there always, and we just hung out. What year are you born?
96.
96.
So I'm 27.
So there was internet. There was.
It was just.
I guess maybe the iPhone came in 2007, so maybe your youth was a little bit pre-smartphones at least.
Oh yeah. Like I didn't get a cell phone until I was like 11 or 12, something. And that was like an old Nokia. You could play Snake on it.
Yeah. And that's the way to go.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like I remember pestering my parents, like, "Can I get a cell phone?" Because I really, really wanted a cell phone.
Yeah.
And they're all like, "No, you don't need it."
Oh no,
because you could just walk
especially in that type of environment.
Yeah, exactly. Because I could knock on the like next house and can I use your phone? That wouldn't be a problem.
Right.
So they all said no. Then I got, because we had a new football field built, like artificial football, like turf and stuff. And because we didn't really have a proper football field in the town, like the proper football field was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 kilometers away from the town, like further in the fjord.
Right.
So we would be playing football on like these random grass, like areas where you just had enough space to build a football field, kind of. So when that came, when I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, we would be there the entire day. And like at dinner time, you didn't want to go home, you just want to keep playing. So my parents kind of got me a cell phone to be able to call me to tell me to come home for dinner.
Yeah.
That was kind of the main reason. And I was always like a big gamer as well. Like I played video games since I was like 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
It's early. What did you play?
I played Tiberian Sun and Red Alert 2, which are like war strategy games. And I remember my mom asked me, like, "How do you know what you're supposed to do?"
Yeah.
And I said, like, "Oh, the lady tells me, like, in the game." My mom was like, "Oh, okay." And then she was standing there watching me play. And the woman would talk in English. And my mom was like, "Did you understand?" Like, yeah, I'm supposed to go over there. And I was like 5 years old.
That's so cool.
So like I basically...
Kids are amazing.
Oh, yeah. Like I learned English. I could speak English when I was like 7.
Nice.
So like... I think most people in Iceland are quite good in English because we don't put our own dialect on video games or movies or shows or anything.
Don't do the dubbing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So mostly everything is in English.
Yeah. Where does a lot of the culture come from? Is it a lot of American influence, like here in Sweden, or?
Yeah, it's a lot of American influence, especially with like TV shows and movies and music as well.
Yeah.
We of course have some Icelandic music as well, but I think most of the music kids listen to is like American.
Right.
And like the most of the modern Icelandic music is like Americanized.
Right.
So like hip hop and rap and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember the main TV shows growing up for me were like Fresh Prince and Bel-Air.
Yeah.
Steve Urkel, Family Matters.
Oh, yeah.
Those kind of shows. They were great. I mean, it was all and like American music a lot of hip hop, for sure. And Sweden doesn't dub either, which is great. I think that's a big mistake that they do that in some countries.
Oh yeah, like when I was traveling to when I was a kid to Spain or Italy or something, and you're watching TV and everything was in Spanish or Italian, and you just sit there and it's like, what? Why?
Yeah.
Because you're just if you don't dub, the kids just learn naturally a second language.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
If you're gonna show the shows anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's free education to have like a free language education to just let it be in that language.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't start learning English until 5th grade, I think, in an elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I actually went, the year I was starting to learn English in school, I went to New York with my family. Because we have cousins who live in New York.
Okay.
And I went to school with my cousins.
Oh, nice.
Just alone. And I would speak with the teachers, and I was because it was during Halloween. So we had these Halloween type activities. And I would just do everything they told me because I understood everything, even before I started learning English.
Yeah.
And I remember I took the English books with me, and I finished both books just on the flights from Iceland to New York, because it's a 6-hour flight. And it was so easy. It was just how do you say I am? Or it was so simple.
Oh, that's nice.
So English education for me was never useful.
Are you special, or is this a general thing in Iceland? Because
I think I was a little bit ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Because I've always been really curious and stubborn as well. So when I didn't know something or didn't understand something, I would try to figure it out by myself or pretend that I knew it.
That's another way to go.
Yeah. So fake it till you make it. And also with I played so many video games, started playing World of Warcraft when I was I don't know, 9-10 years old.
Did you get caught up in it?
Oh yeah. I still play a little bit now and again. I don't have my computer here with me
but now you know to not go balls deep.
Oh yeah, I last because I quit med school last
because of World of Warcraft.
Yeah, 100%.
Priorities, man.
Oh, 100%. You have to go World of Warcraft for life.
I was level 100.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember I quit med school last fall, not this fall, but the year before, and moved back to my hometown to work.
Right.
And my girlfriend was living here in Sweden, so we were long distance for the past 4 years. So that was the main reason why I quit med school, and also because med school is hard as fuck.
I've heard.
Yeah, and I was thinking about my future, do I really want to be a doctor and not really have a life? Working so much, especially in the beginning, you work so much and you don't really do anything else. So I was no, I think I'm gonna go for something else. So I just went back to my hometown and I was working at the elementary school there, just a basic 8 to 4 job. And then because most of my friends have left my hometown, so I didn't really have anything other to do than go to the gym and play video games with my friends. So there I got really into it again. Fuck, I was playing came home from work, went to the gym, came back, and then played World of Warcraft for 5 or 6 hours.
Damn. Did you feel at some point okay, I need to stop this? This is too much.
No, because I think I've always had quite good control over it. When I was in high school, because I left my hometown to go to another high school, an hour away, and there I had a dorm, and I left my computer back home. So
smart move.
Yeah, and the same when I was in med school, I left my computer back home.
Yeah.
So I've never had this. It was never an addiction that I had to play the video games. Even though now I really want a PS5 to play just random shit. But now I've been living here in Sweden for the past 10 months now.
Right.
And I haven't played video games.
And you're not itching all the time.
No, not really.
Good.
Sometimes I have the feeling it would be nice to take a weekend and play.
Yeah.
But I'm not I have to play. It's not something I'm addicted to.
Got it. So you lived in the tiny little idyllic hometown until you were of high school age?
Yeah, 15.
Got it. And then you moved to?
Akureyri.
Is that a bigger place?
Yeah, that's my girlfriend's hometown. So that's the second biggest place in Iceland. And it was kind of perfect because at that time I had aspirations to become a professional football player. And I had gotten quite good because as a kid I was always very, very small. I was tiny and skinny as fuck.
Okay.
Like, I'm not a big guy now, but compared to how I was like this, just a stick.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I was 14, I went from being like, I think 160 to like 175 in a year.
Nice.
I like grew like 15 centimeters, became like a lot heavier. And then I started to perform a lot better.
Right.
And I started playing for like the professional team in my hometown, which was like in the 3rd division or something. And then I moved to Akureyri, and they have like a very good football team there, which me and a couple of my friends started playing with. And I played a few games with like the professional team there.
When you say professional, like what kind of level are we talking about? How good is Icelandic football?
Icelandic, like the division in Iceland is not the best. We have some extremely good football players,
right?
But most of them leave the country to become like proper professional football players.
Yeah. But can you like make a living as a professional player in Iceland?
A few can. It depends on like the size of the teams. We really only have one professional division, which is the top division. And that's the only like kind of that's the only place where we find teams where they can pay you enough for you able to live off the wages as a professional football player. And not all of the players in the team get that kind of high wages. So most of the time it is like the club finds you like alternative work as well, as like an assistant coach or a coach for the youth team or something like that. So like you can, but you can't.
Yeah.
It's kind of a toss up.
Got it.
And you're never gonna be rich.
Yeah.
In Icelandic football because the money isn't there.
Yeah. Got it. All right. So you came to this new town and you played in that team.
Yeah.
What division was that?
They were in this like the 2nd division when I started high school, and then they moved up to the highest division when I was I think it was 18 or something.
Okay.
And I played like a few. I never played with them like in the proper tournament, but I played with them in like practice tournaments and like, stuff like that. And I was getting talks about getting a contract and everything, and then I injured my back really badly.
How?
It was a long ball, and I was jumping up to head it, and like this guy like hit my like hip, so I twisted in the air.
Oh fuck!
And I landed on my shoulder blades, and I sprained my entire back. Somehow the fall or like the hit just traveled through my spine, and I was like a stick figure for like a couple of months. Like I couldn't move. I was just like that.
Oh man! For a couple of months?
Yeah. It was horrible.
That sucks.
And because like I was still going to school. It was just the middle of the season. I think it was like in November or something. And like I was going to school and I was just walking like this. So just like I couldn't move.
Oh man.
And we had like actually my uncle was the physical therapist for that team. And I remember I went to him like the day after the game, and he said to me like, I can't do anything right now because it's just so inflamed and so sore, so I can't really touch you until the inflammation goes down.
Yeah.
So like I had to wait like a month before he could actually start like giving me massages and stuff like that, and it hurt so bad.
Damn.
Fuck, that hurt. Like just feel like somebody had like an iron rod and just like digging into your back.
Damn. So how was the recovery from that? Like how?
It took like to become like at the place where I was before, it was like 6 months.
6 months.
And after that, then I was like graduating from high school and hadn't really played any football for those 6 months. I had showed up for like a few practices, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop now, and like because I don't want to ruin my body.
Yeah.
Because I already like I broke my collarbone playing football, broke a couple of ribs playing football. Destroyed my right ankle playing football. So like I've fucked up my body quite a lot playing football.
Yeah.
And I've always been good at injuring myself. Yeah. Even though like even when I'm not playing football. Like I broke my nose skiing.
Damn.
Broke all the toes on my left foot when I was like 5.
All the toes?
All the toes.
Wait, you broke all of your toes?
On my left foot.
How did this happen?
We had this like stone table.
Okay.
Which was like we had this like 4 like small feet like this
of the table.
Yeah, of the table, and then they came up a little bit, and it came like a base.
Okay.
And then it was like 2 feet came up, and then you had the stone table.
Right.
And the table was heavy as fuck.
Yeah.
And I would stand on that base and hold the table, and I would rock back and forth.
God.
And my mom was always like, "Oh, stop!"
How old were you?
5.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And my mom was like, "Stop it! You're gonna hurt yourself." And I was like, "Oh, just one more time." And I would keep. And my mom was in the kitchen. And I would keep doing it.
Oh no.
And it was actually at the cabin I was talking about earlier. And then at some point I fell back and the table just directly on my toes, and they had to drill holes in the nails of my toes.
So all of them?
Yeah, so they wouldn't fall off because there was so much blood coming.
Oh my god! They had to drill holes in the nails of all of your 5 toes.
Yeah, and like I'm 5 years old, the nails are like this big.
God. This is like medieval torture shit.
Oh yeah. And like I have a bunch of scars on my fingers because I was working construction. Started working construction when I was like 14. And because my parents owned a construction company, so like you get scrapes and stuff like when you're working construction. It's normal. And then like I have a scar here where I had like winkelslip
on your finger.
Yeah, like here.
Yeah.
And
we had what?
Winkelslip.
Winkelslip.
Oh.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't remember what it's called in English. I know the Icelandic word and I know the Swedish word for it. I don't know the English one.
A tool.
A tool. And I was cutting like nails. Because we were switching out, taking out windows.
Right.
And I was like cutting the nails to be able to take out the frame.
Okay.
And it got caught on the wood or the frame and jumped back and hit my finger, and here it went straight down to the bone. And I remember just looking at it, took some tape, just taped it up, and just kept working.
Oh god.
And the same, like we were changing the belts on this excavator. And had this like massive, like 30-40 ton excavator. It's huge. And the bolts were like this big, like this thick. And they were rusted, stuck together.
Oh no.
So I had this small wrench, I was holding it, and then my colleague had like a big, massive wrench, which they used to take the bolts off like lorry tires and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's like 1.5 meters long.
Yeah.
And it like produces a lot of torque.
Right.
And we had been doing this for like a couple of hours, taking the belts off, and everything was going fine.
Yeah.
But this one was like completely like rusted, stuck together, and he pulled, and I just went with it.
Oh no.
And I cut my hand like from here all the way up here and all the way down, and I actually have like a scar like here where all the skin just bunched up like this, and like a massive cut basically. And then again I just took the tape and just taped it up.
Man, you are tough. What happened with your toes though? I want to hear like how did it help to drill holes in them? What happened?
Like I don't really remember what happened.
Yeah, you were 5 years old.
Yeah, 5 years old.
Maybe you heard about it.
Yeah, probably blocked out a lot of the memories.
I would think so.
Yeah. But I just like...
But they saved your toes by...
It saved the nails. Because the nails were going to fall off.
Okay.
Because when the table hit...
Is that why they drilled through to save your nails?
Yeah, so the nails wouldn't fall off. Because they were just gonna fall off because of the pressure, and then you had to release the pressure.
So wait, did they like put a screw to keep the nails on, or what did they?
No, because like as soon as
just drilling a hole,
so the blood under the nail could go up.
Oh my god, it gets worse and worse. So they drilled your toenails to let the blood out.
Yeah, so the blood wouldn't push the nails off.
This must have been so petrifying.
I just think like I don't remember it that much. I just remember like a lot of blood, and I was like, it's fine.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And like I've dislocated like my elbows, I think, because I was born with 2 long ligaments. The ligaments connecting my bones were too long.
Right.
And like my skin is really stretchy as well. I don't know why. I think it's something to do with like.
Were you born in like a military?
Probably
base,
lab.
Some
probably.
kind of test, Wolverine shit.
Probably. And like, I had dislocated, I think, this elbow like 14 times.
14 times?
I had this elbow probably 15 times. Because like you would literally like,
oh man,
like my parents would be holding my hand.
Yeah.
And like as a kid, like you try to like
run away.
You run away or you drop or something, and they would pull back, and I would just pop out.
Oh man.
So that happened, a lot.
Are they still that sensitive?
No. I haven't done it since I was like 13, I think.
Okay.
Just because as you age, your skin becomes less stretchy, and as your ligaments naturally become less stretchy. That's why you get wrinkles. It's because your skin doesn't stretch as much.
Okay.
And it's the same with like your irises as well. That's why you become farsighted, I think. Mm-hmm. Because the muscles in the iris don't stretch as much.
Right.
To like contract your pupils.
Yeah.
And so like that naturally happens, and it just as well as I got stronger as well.
Yeah.
Because that's it was kind of a double whammy that I had this type of like ligaments and I was so skinny. I didn't have the strength.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a rough combo.
Yeah, exactly. So like I remember one time I was play fighting with my uncle, and he didn't know about my condition. And he like took my arm and pulled me up on his back, and I was yelling like, no, stop, because I knew I was gonna dislocate, because at that point I think I was like 7 or 6 years old.
Right.
So I knew like if he did that I was gonna dislocate my elbow.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's fine. And he kept on pulling.
Oh no.
And the ligament circled around my humerus. So when they popped me back in, the ligament just compressed and popped me back out. So they pulled my arm apart to get the ligament off the bone. And I have like small scars. You don't really see them anymore, but I had like scars like here because they had to pull the skin so much. And if they hadn't been able to pull it off, I would have to go to surgery to remove it.
Yeah.
But I like, and then they gave me some kind of chemical. So I don't really remember. They gave me like probably Rohypnol or something, so I wouldn't remember.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like I remember my mom talking about it, and she was crying as much as I was because they're looking on the doctor, just one holding here and the other holding here.
Oh my God!
And pulling my arm apart.
Yeah, that's gotta be terrifying to watch as a mother.
Oh yeah, like my mom had such a bad time with me because I was always getting hurt.
Jesus Christ. Do you still get hurt a lot, or has that slowed down a little bit?
It has slowed down a little bit.
Sounds like it's still happening at work though.
Yeah, like you get scrapes and it's like...
Are you more careful nowadays?
A little bit. But like, I don't know, like I'm still a little bit reckless, I have to say, because I'm confident in my own abilities.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I should have learned from my mistakes, but like
at this point,
yeah, exactly.
Confidence in your skills should be waning.
It should be down there. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna be fine. And like, I think like
hilarious.
The worst thing that happened since I moved here to Sweden.
Yeah.
And because I'm working construction now.
Yeah.
Is that we were putting pipes into these like brunn, and basically like a concrete structure with had holes in it. And so I was guiding the pipe in, and there's another guy who like kicks it and to get it in. And I was guiding it in at the beginning, and I had my finger like this over the edge, and he kicked it, and my finger was in between, and it split my finger like quite a lot. I have a small scar here. You don't really see it because it's on like.
But the fingertip didn't like fall off.
No. It was just like a cut basically, but it bled a lot. And again, I just took tape and taped it up and kept working.
That's rough, man. That's rough.
Yeah, but
I used to work in a factory, so I saw a couple of this type of accidents happen. Took people to the hospital with cuts, and I worked in a Marabou factory.
Yeah, you told me.
A lot of Finnish people.
Yeah.
Tough as nails, especially like the old timers, like the old Finnish ladies and gentlemen. They that would happen all the time. Like someone gets a cut in their hand and they're just like, no, I'll keep working.
Yeah.
And I was like the manager of a production line, so I'm like, no,
you need to go to the hospital.
Like, you have to go to the hospital. I'm like, no, I'll just finish my shift. I'm like, it's my responsibility, but I can't like force them. This was when I was not on this was like the evening shift, and I was on my phone. I was out with friends or whatever, and I'm trying to convince this guy who has like a cut through his entire hand, like to go to the hospital. He's like, no, it's fine. I've had worse.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's my responsibility. I'm gonna get shit for this.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Go to goddamn hospital.
Yeah. Like I've never had like. Because like the big cut I got here was quite superficial, so it wasn't that deep. So I've never had to go to the hospital for anything that happened at work.
Okay.
Because it's all quite like this one was quite deep, but it's small, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But compared to like the old timers I was working with, I was a pussy. Like
really?
I was just this random kid who was like complaining and stuff because those old timers were tough as fuck.
Yeah.
I remember one time. I watched a guy with a nail gun get a nail through his hand, and he just and he was like putting up like roofing,
and
it was stuck in the roof. The nail went through his hand and quite deep, so he didn't really see the top of the nail.
Oh no!
Just kind of saw it, and he just got pliers and just pulled it out, and it's fine. He just got some cloth and wrapped it around and kept working.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, those people are built different.
Oh yeah, like they're so tough. Like I'm not gonna even compare myself to these like old timers who have been doing it for like 30, 40 years. Like
I would imagine if we like take the average kid born 96, you're pretty tough.
Oh, thank you.
I would imagine. I might be prejudiced here, but I feel like the younger we get, the like especially here in the Nordics, like we've had it so good for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a great thing.
That's 100%.
Definitely not something bad.
No.
But it does make us soft.
Oh yeah. Like for me, like when I started working when I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like
in construction.
Yeah, in construction. Yeah. At that time, that was the legal age that you were allowed to work in Iceland. But now it's 16, I think.
Okay.
But when I started working, it was 14, and you were allowed to work half a day, so like 4 hours. And you had this, we called it like job school, is where like you had these 14-year-old kids who would show up and you would be like picking out flower beds for the community and raking grass. And it's like,
right. There's something like that here in Sweden as well.
Yeah.
Like summer
exactly.
internships for young adults or teenagers.
Yeah, just for them to start to like emulate, like
it's great.
Adapting to working. And I felt it was so boring.
Oh.
I was like, I'm not doing anything. I was there for like, I think, a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And then I asked my parents, like, can I start working for the company?
Right.
Because I knew my sister worked for our company because they were building like avalanche protection walls, like above my hometown. And at that point, they had a lot of kids working for them.
Okay.
And so I knew like it was possible for me to work for the company just as a summer job.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were like, oh, you have to apply or like ask the boss, because my parents were owners, but they didn't really have any control of the company. And I think they owned like 30% or something. Mm-hmm. And so Mama was like, okay, you have to go ask. I was like, okay, fine.
Apply like everyone else.
Yeah, so I went down to the garage where the owner or like the boss was drinking beer with my dad. I just walked up to him and like, hey, can I get a job? And he was like, yeah, show up on Monday. And that was my application process.
Nice.
So then I started...
A little bit of connections doesn't hurt.
Oh, definitely not. Same with how I got my job now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, my uncle started the company.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Here in Sweden?
Yeah, here in Stockholm.
Oh, that's cool. Same uncle who tore your arm off?
No, different uncle.
Different uncle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used him. He doesn't work for the company anymore, but he still has some connections.
Of course.
So like I called him because I was moving here and needed a job. And I was hoping for like a better pay than a waiter. So I called him and he was like, oh yeah, I'll set up a meeting for you with the boss of the company now. And I talked to that guy who was like the boss of the company, and he apparently liked me, so I got a job.
Nice.
But I would have never gotten the opportunity if I hadn't had my uncle's connections.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I got it because they have stopped, because it's a construction management company. So they don't only have construction managers, they don't have any workers anymore.
Oh, okay.
So they had 3 workers before, when my uncle still was controlling the company, or like operating the company. But they had stopped hiring in workers.
Okay.
So they wouldn't have hired me as a worker.
Got it.
Unless for my uncle.
But I'm thinking with your experience from construction and with your attitude, sooner or later, I'm sure you would have had an opportunity somewhere.
Yeah. Like
connections do not hurt. That's always
definitely not
good to have.
Yeah. So when I started working like 8-hour days.
As a 14-year-old.
As a 14-year-old, which was illegal, but my mom did the books for the company.
Oh, nice.
So she just fifed it up a little bit. So I started as a and I remember my first job with the company. We were putting up fencing in the middle of the countryside in Iceland during the summer, and it was me and this one old guy who was like 50, and he was a beast. Yeah. He was his arm, like his forearms were as big as my thighs are now.
Yeah.
He's like 195. And we would be putting up fencing. He wouldn't give a shit if I was struggling or not. He would just keep working.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one time it was like 20 degrees outside, really nice weather. Like you don't really get these like perfect days a lot in Iceland.
Yeah.
And we had lunch, and we just brought like lunch with us, and we were eating outside. And we usually, because we brought the lunch, we only got a half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him like, "Oh, let's just chill for a little bit." And the yelling I got, man, he screamed at me for probably like 15 minutes. And I didn't complain at all after that. Yeah. I just worked. And that like installed a good work ethic and like not complaining about like little things.
Yeah.
Like if something is seriously wrong, I will complain. But if it's small things, like I don't see the point of complaining about.
And like when you're being paid for work, you work.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a very reasonable
expectation. Yeah, exactly. And like most of my friends, they worked at that like job school for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And like while I was working in construction for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the difference in just mentality and also like the work ethic installed.
Yeah.
And like there was a lot of times that they told me to do something and I had no idea how I was supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kind of figured it out. It was quite stressful at times, especially like I think like my second summer, we had this. What's it called in English? It's like you had these massive stones and we're breaking them apart to make material for concrete,
right?
And then like gravel and stuff. So you had this one bucket basically. They would pour in the material with like a massive excavator. And that material had these 2 massive metal plates would break the material.
Right.
And then they would go into a conveyor belt, then back to another conveyor belt, and then it would get separated through these screens.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me to manage that machine. So put fuel on it.
And you were 14?
15.
15.
Yeah.
Well, there.
Yeah.
Then it's perfectly reasonable.
So I would like put fuel in it, put like lubricant on like all of the parts.
Uh-huh.
And at some points, like, and I had to stand next to the conveyor belt because if the big stones got into the screen, it would completely destroy the screen.
Right.
So I would stand next to this conveyor belt with an engine, basically because it was an old machine.
Right.
So I had this old diesel engine right below where I was standing, so it was shaking the entire day.
Oh, God.
And like it's like 80, 90 decibels because it was no coverage over the engine. So I had like headphones on and I was standing at this conveyor belt for like 8 hours a day, just picking off stones.
Oh, by hand?
By hand.
So when a big stone comes in that would, crush the screen,
I had to
you're supposed to grab it and take it away.
Yeah. And I have like a bunch of small scars from when I was grabbing a stone and another stone would roll off the conveyor belt.
Oh my God.
And my fingers would be in between. So I would be throwing off these stones, and then like I had to switch screens because the screens only last for like a month at most because of natural. Just with the stones, there's a lot of abrasiveness and friction. So, and then they told, "Oh, Páll, here you go. You got this machine here. You find the bits inside. Go change the screen."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Sure, okay, let's go for it." So I grabbed like this drill type thing, grabbed the bits, and I was like taking the bolts away. Like in the middle of the machine with like the screens above me, and I was drilling like under them and had to drag the screens out, and the screens were like probably like 30, 40 kilos.
Oh man.
And I was like 45, 50 kilos maybe. So I was like dragging the screens out, and then I had to lift this other new screens up.
Oh man.
So I built like this kind of pulley system where I tied like a rope to the end of the screen and put it over the conveyor belt. And like went on the other side and pulled it up until it sat on the conveyor belt. Then I climbed up and like lifted one end and then kind of pushed the other end and then got it stuck.
And the adults were just like...
They were just doing other jobs. I had
no
supervision. I had no supervision while I was doing that. I was alone.
That is crazy.
For like even when I was just my normal day, I had no supervision.
Yeah.
They just told me to do that and I did it. And I was like cutting asphalt with this big ass like cutting saw.
Yeah.
Which has the blade is probably like this big, and you push it. And it's quite dangerous. It can be quite dangerous. And they were just like they showed me how to do it, and they're like, yeah, you cut this line here, and then they would just leave. And I was like 15, and they were just cutting asphalt.
As kids do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of the mentality, especially like in my hometown, nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
Like they're just, fuck it, it's gonna be fine.
Well, you seem to have turned out great though, so.
Oh, thank you.
It's impressive that you survived, first and foremost. And then you like walk around and shit. That's pretty cool. And from what I can tell, you have working hands and fingers, so.
Yeah. Pretty, like pretty normal working.
Yeah. That's good.
Except for my toes. My toes are a bit shit from football mostly.
From football, not from the drilling through the nails.
Because when you're a kid, it heals.
Yeah, they grow back normal. Okay. So how did all of this, the football injury, we talked about that, and like the construction work, but then you ended up going abroad for med school. How did that come about?
Actually, it was after high school. I didn't really know what I was gonna do. And also during high school, I struggled quite a lot with depression and anxiety because a lot of shit happened in my family. And so like I graduated high school with a bit of difficulty, just because I was like, I think my attendance my last semester was probably 30%. And I just skated by being like, thankfully studying has never been that difficult for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because I have a good memory. I'm really, really lucky that way. Otherwise, I would never graduated high school. And so I finished high school, and I really didn't know what I was going to do. I had just broken up with my long-term girlfriend at the time, and I was working in a lab in my hometown. And my friends like texted me like, we're gonna go move to Malta for 3 months to do a fly course.
Okay.
And I was like,
a fly course?
Yeah, to fly like
a plane.
Yeah, because they had all finished their like private pilot's license to fly small planes.
Right.
And they were doing like the professional private license. And I was like, fuck it, I have nothing to do. Let's go to Malta for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I worked at the lab for like 6 months, and I moved to Malta. Did like all of the book part of it, not the practical part.
The theory.
The theory part, yeah, exactly. Did that. That was easy as fuck. Like that was so easy.
A little bit too easy.
Oh yeah, like because the way they like set it up, it was like a month of school. Then you had like 3 tests.
Yeah.
And you took 3 tests at the school, and you had to get above, I think 7 or 7.5.
Okay.
And then you would go to like the government test. If you passed
the licensing.
Yeah, exactly. So you had to get above 7.5 to be able to apply for the government tests.
Right.
And I showed up, and I didn't really know like any of the terminology, the lingo. So like in my first class, I was like, "What the fuck am I doing here?"
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. So I show up, and the first 3 tests were like connected with like the physics of airplanes, a lot of mathematics, like calculating like the G point, where the center of mass is, and how it's going to affect when you burn fuel, and blah blah blah. But it was all like really rudimentary maths and rudimentary physics. Like in high school, I had like 7 different math courses and like 5 different physics courses.
Did you go to like a technical high school?
Yeah, because like the high school was, you could decide between going to like the social route or like the technical route.
Yeah.
So I chose the technical route. So I did like a lot of math, a lot of chemistry, a lot of physics, biology, biochemistry.
Yeah.
So I had a good foundation, like a really good foundation for that study. And like I put in so much effort the first month. Like I was studying every time I come home from school. And then like a couple of days before the test, they were like, okay, yeah, you have this question bank here in the back of the book. And it's all multiple choice. And I'm like, okay, yeah, here are the questions for the test. And it was like, I don't know, maybe 100 questions for each test.
Oh, so you had the questions and the answers before the test.
Yeah. So I just did the test. I read through the chapters and studied the chapters and made notes and everything. And then I did the questions and just memorized the questions.
Yeah.
And then I went to the actual test. And you had, I think, like 45 minutes to an hour for each test.
Right.
And there were 3 of them. I finished all 3 in 15 minutes. Because I just memorized all the questions. Yeah. So I literally just did the questions. And I did all of the math just to be 100% sure.
During the test?
During the test. But it was only like 16 questions per test. It was just one paper.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't even that long. So I finished all the tests. I remember I finished the first one in like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm done. And then like the guy who was overseeing the test was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. Can I have the next test? And he was like, okay. So he gave him the second test, finished that one. Got the third test, finished that one. And I'm done. And he was like, I'm going to go over these. And he had like a stern look in his eyes. Like, I'm going to get over these. And like, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fine. I don't know. I got 10s in all of them.
Yeah, of course.
And he was like, you could go home.
Nice.
Oh, fine. So like my ambition for the rest, like the other 2 months, dropped.
Of course.
I knew like I could skate by this without hardly any effort at all. So the second month, I don't remember what the subjects were, but they were easier subjects.
Right.
Because the first 3 were the hardest
really?
subjects. So the next 3 were easy as fuck.
Yeah. So you enjoyed Malta?
Oh yeah, like I showed up for school and I came home and I just went to the beach or I was just having fun.
Nice.
And so I did the second 3. I got 10s in all of them as well, both of the school and the government test because they had the same questions. And I was like, how is anybody supposed to like learn any from this? Because you have all the questions you could just memorize.
Here, have a plane.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that. And then in the last month, because one of my teachers in the flight school, he was doing his professional pilot's license, but he was working as an instructor in the school for like the private pilot's license, just to be able to get money and to be able to fly. And he and one of my friends who came with me to Iceland started dating. So we became really good friends. And he's actually the only person I've ever met who's not from Iceland who can say my name correctly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Impressive. Where is he from?
Malta.
Cool.
Yeah. But he spent a lot, like he is very stubborn. So he practiced for a long time.
Yeah.
And we became really good friends and we had dinner. I had just finished the first 3 tests. I think like the day after was like, well, a couple of days later we had dinner. And he showed up with like a bunch of material for the next month. And it was like weather, navigation, and like air law or something. And he told me like, oh, read these 2 chapters. And I did. And he brought some tests, did the tests. And he was like, okay, you don't have to show up for school the next month. And I was like, what? But oh yeah, I'm just going to tell them you're sick. And I was like, what? But yeah, it's fine. So I didn't show up for school for the next month.
And vacation.
Just a month of vacation. And I just show up for the tests.
Yeah.
And those were the only tests I didn't get 10s in. I got like 9.6, 9.5 or 9.3 or something.
Terrible.
And I actually graduated with with the theory part. I had the highest average grade from the beginning of the school.
So you're a licensed pilot?
No, because I didn't finish my flight hours.
Ah, okay.
Because you have to have 45 flight hours. And I don't remember how many I did, but I didn't finish them because they're quite expensive.
Right.
And then like after, because I wasn't really putting in, because I was just having fun.
Yeah.
So I wasn't putting in the effort to
this wasn't like a dream you were chasing or something.
No.
You were just doing it for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't really putting in the effort of like booking the airplane, having an instructor with me, doing a flight plan. It takes a lot of time. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to finish it when I come back to Iceland. And then I come back to Iceland and the flight hour is like 3 or 4 times more expensive.
Of course.
Yeah. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm not going to spend like 20, 30,000 Swedish to finish a hobby.
Yeah.
So I didn't finish it, but flying a small plane is easier than driving a car. It's because you can't hit anything.
Can imagine that, yeah.
The only hard part is landing.
Right.
Because takeoff isn't hard.
Right.
You just push in the throttle, and once you hit a specific speed, you just pull on the lever. You go up. It's easy as fuck.
Yeah.
The only hard part, but it's not even that hard once you've done it a couple of times. Landing a small plane is so easy.
Yeah.
But a big plane is hard.
Yeah, that's different, of course.
Yeah. And so I finished that, went back to Iceland, and I was like, what am I going to do now? Like, I haven't really thought about it, but like, I had a dream when I was a kid of becoming a doctor. And I remember I was playing World of Warcraft with one of my friends, my best friend at the time, and he was like, and we were talking about what I was going to do, and he said like, go to med school.
Okay.
And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go to med school.
I want to drill in 5-year-olds' toenails.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like fun. So we had the Icelandic entrance exam like a couple of weeks later. And that exam is notorious for being extremely difficult.
Right.
And it's like 2 days, 8 hours of tests each day. And people study for it for years.
And you decided 2 weeks ahead of time?
Yeah, I decided just to try it out. Okay. I didn't pass, obviously.
Okay.
Because like there was no chance.
You are human.
Yeah, exactly. I failed.
I was expecting that, and I got 10s.
No. But like the amount of material you have to go over is insane.
Yeah.
And it's math, physics, chemistry, biology, English, Icelandic, psychology, and a couple more I don't remember. And so I because a lot of people take it once straight after high school just to try it out, just to see how it is.
Yeah.
So you get a feel for the test because it's so massive. So I decided to try that, and I got the average of all the tests was 4.6 or something. I got
of 10.
Of 10, which was actually pretty good.
Still not bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good with that. Because I didn't study at all.
And how much is required to pass?
The thing is, in Iceland, they only have 50 spots for.
So the top 50 performers.
The top 50 performers get it. So
do you know approximately what that meant?
I think you could possibly get in. Depends on the year, obviously, because it depends on the people who are taking the test with you. You could get in with a 7.5, between 7.5 and 8.
Not very far off.
No, definitely not. And I probably would have gotten in if I had studied for maybe a year or two.
Yeah.
And in the end, I would have gotten in.
Yeah.
But then but after the test, I was like, fuck, I never want to do that again. That was horrible.
Really? Okay.
That was it was so bad. And also, I didn't really like the aspect of living in Reykjavik as well. Because I'm from such a small town. And Reykjavik it's nice to go to visit. But it's just the kind of, because you have to drive everywhere, the massive traffic, you get stuck in traffic for a few hours, if you...
Really?
Yeah. Because especially during...
I'm laughing because it's 150,000 people.
I know!
It doesn't sound like massive traffic.
I know, but you get
But I guess the roads are not adapted to...
No, not really.
Which is crazy. How does this happen everywhere?
I don't know.
How is nowhere good for traffic?
I don't know. And also because... On the south side, people don't really they can drive in snow, but not properly drive in snow. When you're from the countryside,
those southerners.
Exactly, those are fucking idiots. But seriously, they don't.
What do they know about the winter in Reykjavik?
Well, the winter is so much less extreme in the south of Iceland. It's actually ridiculous how big of a difference it is from Reykjavik and my hometown.
That's interesting.
Because in Reykjavik, you get snow.
Yeah.
But you don't get a meter in a day like you get in my hometown. You can have 2 meters in a day in my hometown.
Damn.
So I'm used to driving on icy roads and snowy roads. Yeah. But some people don't even have the winter tires on when it starts snowing, and then just have accidents and everything stops.
Yeah.
So I was okay, not really excited for living in Reykjavik. So I had a friend who was in Slovakia, who was studying there. So I just texted him, and he was like, hey, how is living in Slovakia? And he's like, it's amazing. And I'm like, why? And he was like, we have such a great community of the students. Because we have, I think now there's probably 200, 250 Icelandic students studying at the school in Slovakia.
Okay. Where is Slovakia?
It's called Martin. It's very close to the southern border of Poland. So it's in the north of Slovakia. So it's only I think an hour and a half drive away from Poland. And it's a very good school. It's a very, very good school. And also it's a lot easier to get in.
Right.
Because you have less people that apply. The test is easier. And they take in more people than they do in Iceland.
Right.
So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go to Slovakia. And so I studied for, I think, 3 months for the tests. And you got a list of all the subjects you had to go over. And it was only biology and chemistry in that test.
Oh, okay.
It was no math and nothing like that. So I just made this huge document. It was probably 1,000 pages long with all of the answers, or all of the questions or subjects that I had to go over. And I just revised that document a couple of times and took the test, and I got in.
Nice.
And then I moved there 2019, 18, 19, I don't know, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a good time.
I can imagine.
It was a good time. Even though, like, especially like the first year, you don't really have that much to do.
Yeah.
It's you have a lot to do, like, especially compared to high school.
Yeah.
And it's still med school.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but it was manageable.
Mm-hmm.
So you could get away with studying only like 2 or 3 days a week, like proper studying. And then you were studying for maybe 6-7 hours, but you still could get away with studying only like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And like in the first semester, I only had one final, which was like biophysics.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think I only studied for that exam for like 4 or 5 days.
And that was enough.
Yeah, that was fine. And like just the social aspect of living there, because you have like 200 Icelandic people, and then you have like 200 people from Norway, and there's always something happening.
Yeah.
Like every weekend, like even though there's nothing planned, everybody would go out to the bar and then I started playing football also with a Slovakian football team.
Nice.
Which was interesting.
Oh yeah? How
because
come?
most of the guys didn't speak English.
Oh, okay.
They're all quite bad at football as well.
Oh.
So like, and we had like my friend, he was in the same team as me in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And then a year later, another one of my friends from high school came. And that other friend who came a year later, he was actually on a football scholarship in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was really, really good.
Yeah.
And like all of us three were playing, like, we were all pretty good.
High level.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so we went to the 6th division in Slovakia.
Oh, okay.
Where guys like hardly know what a football is.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, a ball. What's that? So like we were like the best by far in the team.
Yeah.
So the guys loved us.
Okay, that's good. It can go either way.
Oh yeah.
They can also hate you because you're coming and good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they loved us.
Oh, that's good.
And like they didn't really speak any English, so they were just speaking Slovakian. We didn't really speak any Slovakian, so we were like kinda communicating without communicating.
But that's the beauty of sports.
Oh yeah.
You can do that. Nice.
And then like after every single practice, they would bring up beer. It was like just the mentality. They would just bring a beer, and then they would bring like home brewed called Slivovica.
Oh yeah,
which is like 55%.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, and they would bring that, and we were like taking shots after practice.
Oh god.
And then sometimes 3 or 4 shots after practice, and you came home drunk on like a Wednesday and had to go study.
So basically, stay away from doctors educated in Slovakia. Is that what you're saying?
The thing is, like, if people knew what we were doing in our free time there, they would never even consider showing up to a doctor's appointment with us. Like, the amount of shit that we did, it was insane. Like,
doctors are people too.
Oh yeah, but
it turns out.
Yeah, it turns out. But the thing is, like, we are degenerate alcoholics when we're studying.
Yeah,
because like you're studying, like it's so much stress and so much. The workload is so high.
Yeah, gotta have a little Slivovica.
Yeah, exactly. So like when the weekend comes, you're like, fuck it, let's get shit faced. And I remember, like, especially the first semester, I think I drank a beer every single day.
Oh, Jesus.
For like a couple of months.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. Just like, I don't know, we were just... And also because alcohol is so cheap there.
Yeah.
Like, you buy a beer for like... What's it, like, Swedish comparison? It's like €0.50. You buy one beer for €0.50 at a bar.
Right.
So at the store, it's like 30 cents.
How much is a beer in Iceland today?
Oh,
approximately.
Fuck. Like, at a bar, it's probably like €10.
Yeah. It's the same in Stockholm nowadays.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's insane.
Crazy. And €10 for a fucking beer.
Exactly. It's a half a liter of beer. Like, it's insane. And like even if you go to, like, we have the same system in Iceland, like Systembolaget.
Mm-hmm.
So it's government run.
Yeah.
And even a beer there is like €3 or €4.
Mm-hmm.
Like compared to, you could go to the grocery store in Slovakia and buy yourself beer.
Yeah.
For like 30 cents. So you'd buy a 6-pack for like €1.50.
Yeah.
So we always had beer in the apartment. And I was living with 2 roommates there. And we lived in like 120 square meter apartment.
Right.
And because
That's big.
Yeah, and the rent there.
Just the 2 of you?
With 3 of us.
3. Okay.
So we had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, a massive living room,
nice.
Massive kitchen, and it was a very much a guy's apartment.
Yeah.
It was if you visualize what a guy's apartment would look like, that was it. It was like, tidy in a sense and clean in a sense. It wasn't like a complete pigsty, but we had this like under the stairs. We had like the magic mountain of stuff. We didn't know what was in there. Like you could find anything in there.
Yeah.
And so it was, and we had like a massive TV, and we had like PlayStation,
of course,
and
the essentials.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we would always like party at our place because we had the biggest living room.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were just, it was so much fun.
I can imagine.
And like when I moved there, I was talking to my friend. I have this thing called Buddy Week.
Buddy Week.
Yeah, it's like the week before you start school. And it's basically like for people just to meet and get to know each other.
Oh, buddy, not body.
No, not body, buddy.
I was like, where's this going?
No, we're not digging up bodies from the cemetery.
Okay, Buddy Week.
So you get all of like the Icelandic students who show up and all the Norwegian first years, and we get all mixed into groups. And then you have a group of like either second or third year students who are our buddies. So. And my friend was like, you have to show up for this week. Okay. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show up for this week.
Yes, that's where the partying happens.
Oh, fuck. Like, you have no idea. Like, I showed up like on a Saturday. Oh, actually, Friday night. Yeah. So I had like Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, like activities started. So I had a calm couple of days just walking around town, checking things out, and like getting acclimatized. Yeah. And, then Monday started quite calm, if you could say that, compared to the other days.
To what was coming. Yeah.
So we met up at the town square, and we were like divided into groups. And we started. Do you know the show called The Amazing Race, where we had to find like clues and stuff? So we did like a small kind of version of that, and so we had to like find clues or do challenges and stuff. So like
in teams.
Yeah, exactly. And kind of like team bonding. Yeah. And we did that, and it was a lot of fun. And like nobody gives a fuck if you're drinking on the street in Slovakia. So all of us had beers, and we were like kind of day drinking. And then we did that. It was a lot of fun. Then we went out to dinner with our buddies, just in individual groups. And then we started partying, obviously, on a Monday.
As one does.
Yeah. And I was like, after the party, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to throw an after party. So I threw an after party in my apartment. Yeah. And like my roommate, only one of my roommates was there at that time. And he was just in his bathrobe. Just like when I show up with like 20 people, he was like, Okay. And then he just went up and changed and came back down, and we partied until like 5 in the morning.
Nice.
And then on a Tuesday we had go-kart on Tuesday.
Nice.
And in Slovakia we had this, or in Martin, the town, we had like a go-kart track, and there's a bar at the go-kart track. Obviously. So we would like, woke up at like probably 1 o'clock or something, hungover as fuck. Yeah. Like I'm dying. Yeah. And I had to show up to go-kart like an hour later. So I literally went downstairs, ate something I found that I'd bought, grabbed a beer, opened it, and chugged a beer. Yeah. And I just went to go-kart, and I just started drinking at the go-kart as well. And I was drunk as fuck, driving a go-kart, just hitting all my friends. And some random Slovakian guy was yelling at us for being idiots.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah. And then we had another party.
Yeah.
After
med school does sound tough.
Yeah, it's really, really hard. So then, like on the Tuesday, like I just went for dinner with my friends who I made, and then we everybody showed up at the bar on Tuesday. Party again. I threw another after party,
of course,
obviously. Then on Wednesday, we had nothing planned for the day itself. But then we had what we called pub crawl during the evening. But during the day, me and my friend who I lived with, and a couple of guys I met, and a couple of his friends, we all went to, we had this area, like outdoor area, where we could play volleyball and all that stuff. And it had a bar. Yeah. Obviously.
Of course.
So we started drinking there.
Yeah.
And then we had the pub crawl.
I'm starting to get the picture.
You started getting
It was a rough week.
And the pub crawl was so fun because you had like 12 or 13 different bars. there in this small ass town, and it's not a big street,
and all of these students.
Oh, like 200, like probably 200 or 300 students.
Yeah.
And you're just walking around different pubs, doing different challenges at the pubs, and you got like points for shots, you got points for giving the body shots or drinks, and you get points for water as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah, because we're medical students. We
good.
We kind of have we have to be
a little bit of sense,
a little bit responsible.
Nice.
So like the routine was we showed up to a new place. We all got water in the group.
Oh.
We drink one glass of water.
Wow. I'm impressed.
And then we'd start doing shots.
Yeah.
So we had these different challenges, and it was so much fun. And like you had this challenge where you had like a cookie on your face, and you try to get it down to your mouth, and all this on. And I didn't throw the after party that night. I went home at like probably 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I woke up like an hour and a half later with my friend sitting on my bed, who I had known for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck are you doing here? What are you doing in my bed? Yeah. And he was like, oh, Mikey threw an after party. And I was like, what? So yeah, come downstairs.
Have fun.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, fuck it. So I went downstairs and had an after party with the guys. And then it was Thursday.
Okay, yeah.
And we went for a hike.
Mm-hmm.
And
let me guess, there was a bar there.
There was a bar at the top.
Hmm?
There was a bar at the top, but not on the way.
Mm-hmm. So you brought your own?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I had a backpack. I had one bottle of water because it was hot outside and we were hiking. So like, oh, let's be sensible. Let's bring one bottle of water, which was like probably a liter. Then I brought a 6-pack.
Yeah, makes sense.
And
there's water in beer as well.
Exactly. It's hydration. So we were climbing this. We started going like the easiest path up.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the group, like the way split into 2 different ways. You could keep going the easy way up, or you go up the hardest way. And like me and my friends were like, fuck, we're gonna go the hard way. Mm-hmm. So we started going up the hard way.
Duh.
And you're climbing up this like cliffs, and which has like wires. So you're like holding onto wires and you're climbing up cliffs and stuff. And I had a beer in one hand and just climbing up the wires with the other and drinking. And we were passing people who had like a guide, had helmets on, had a vest with like which you clip onto the wires. And we would be walking past. It was like, just drinking.
Fucking morons. Yeah. All right, so you learned nothing from your youth, is what you're saying.
No, definitely not. But I did not get hurt that week.
That is insane.
Yeah, I have no idea how.
Maybe that's the secret. Be drunk.
Yeah, that's probably it.
It's like being like we were talking about when you're a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
You're flexible and
just made of rubber when you're drunk.
If you're drunk enough, you just everything's fine.
And then we had Friday. Then we had another after party on Thursday,
of course,
which I threw.
Mm-hmm.
And then Friday there was nothing like planned, so we went and played tennis at the tennis courts that we had there with a bar, obviously. And then we went out partying, and my friend actually threw the after party that time. Nice. So I had 5 after parties in a row.
Intense.
And then on Saturday we had the biggest night.
Of course.
It's called the lab coat party.
Okay.
It's where we all show up at the town square.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have to have like a new clean lab coat, a white lab coat. And we all walked to this big outdoor area where they had these different challenges and drinking games and stuff we had to do. We had to go through this like obstacle course and stuff. And in the end of the obstacle course, you would have this skull, like plastic skull that they had.
Okay.
And they would make you swear on the skull, like this pre-Hippocratic oath type thing.
Right.
So, like, I don't remember exactly what the oath was, but it was like, be good, party hard, study hard, party harder.
Yeah.
And then, like, one of my buddies was swearing me in, and he said, you're never allowed to refuse a shot from me.
Mm.
And I said, okay. And then he took like a couple of syringes and, like, gave me 2 shots. And then after that was finished, everybody got a pen, and you would write different stuff on people's lab coats.
Mm.
So like the friends you made, you write like whatever, and like my lab coat that I got was like completely covered in writing.
Nice.
It was so much fun. It was like outdoors, and we had this big bonfire, and like they made this like Slovakian stew type thing, which was actually very good. And then we were just drinking and partying. And then school started on Monday. But then the next weekend, we had what we called in drinking. And that was only the Icelandic students. But the other 2 were connected to like the student unions or like
the organizations.
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and I was like the Icelandic and the Norwegian organizations. But they couldn't go too far with everything.
Right.
So that was like quite, I don't know, reserved or like pulled back a little bit that week, which it doesn't sound like it was.
Yeah.
So the next weekend we had in drinking, and then you had to show up in like costumes, and like I was a devil. So I had my face painted black and red. I had like horns and like a cape and a staff, which I filled with vodka because you could screw the top off.
Nice.
And you would show at the town square, and everybody would get an egg.
Okay.
And you had to protect your egg. And like the older students would try to break your egg.
Yeah.
So and if it broke, you had to take like, I don't know, a couple of shots or something.
Yeah.
And do like 20 push-ups or whatever.
Yeah.
It was just a bit of fun. And then we show up again at the big outdoor area. And again, they would have like a bunch of challenges. But like the amount of drinking in the challenges got turned up to like 11.
As it happens.
So I was drinking a lot. And then a friend of mine who was in my buddy group, because the buddy groups during drinking got changed up. Because it was only the Icelandic people. So one of my friends I made, she was like, I'm not feeling too good. Like, can you drink for me, Polly? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll drink for you.
Just what I needed.
Yeah, 100%. And then it was like 10 stations in total. And I was like 6 stations in. And then I went to the station where my friend from the buddy group I was in had that station.
The one you cannot refuse shots from.
Exactly. You see where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, they were asking us just random questions, like what's the biggest mountain in Africa, and what's the tallest structure in the world, and what's the biggest country, like just random questions. And every time we got one wrong, we had to take a shot.
Of course.
Every time we had to take a shot, he would tell me, take another shot.
Oh no.
So I did.
What a good friend.
Yeah, he's the best friend. and then just randomly he would just tell me, take a shot. And I probably too. And I was taking the shots from my friend as well. So I was taking, instead of taking 1 shot, I was taking 3 shots every time. Got a question wrong. And I am so surprised I didn't get alcohol poisoning that night.
Yeah. Did you throw up?
Oh yeah, because like after that station, everything's black.
Yeah.
And apparently I finished all the stations.
Oh, well done.
Which I don't remember.
Dumbass.
Yeah, fucking idiot. I finished all the stations. And then there was like a big bonfire and a party and everything. And then it lasted like, I don't know, like half an hour, 45 minutes after we finished all the stations.
Yeah.
And then I started throwing up.
Yeah.
I threw up on my shoes. I threw up on my friend.
Of course.
Threw up in a trash can.
The friend who was giving you all the shots.
No, actually not.
A different friend.
A different friend. Yeah. And so like they put me in a cab and just drove me home.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And because this thing started at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
I was driven home at like 8:30.
In the evening?
In the evening.
Oh, okay.
And because,
rough day.
Yeah, and because we had a brunch before we started, so we started drinking at the brunch.
Yeah.
So I had been drinking from like 11 o'clock in the morning.
Man.
It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And so I was driven home.
Uh-huh.
And my roommate, one guy brought me up to our apartment. My roommate took me into an apartment, and I was laying on the sofa. And he brought like a washcloth and started like cleaning my face.
Yeah,
because my face was all like red,
devil stuff. Yeah,
and like I have a picture in my phone, whereas like I have massive amounts of mascara, and my eyes are like black like here. Because I had made like a red skull.
Yeah,
and like contoured it like black, like here. So it was like I was a panda. And I have a picture, and he made me pizza.
Oh, that's kind.
So I have a picture of me on my phone with a pizza and just black.
Nice.
And then apparently I called my girlfriend.
Oh no.
And she was driving.
Great idea.
Very good idea. And she was driving, and she was like. He's like, oh yeah, I'm driving. I'm like, oh no, it's too dangerous. So I like shut off the call.
Okay.
And then 15 minutes later, I called again. And my friend was like, is she driving? I'm like, no, she's finished. And then he hears from the phone, I'm still driving. And then I was downstairs for a couple of more minutes. Then I took a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Then I said to my friend, I'm going to go up to sleep. Mm-hmm. And he was like, sure, yeah. fine. And I go up to bed, but I didn't go up to bed. And I went into my other roommates who wasn't home at the time, bedroom.
Wrong bedroom.
Yeah, and apparently I either took a water bottle and poured it on the floor.
Yeah, that's not what happened.
Nor I peed on the floor. And then I took his lab coat, which he uses for school.
Yeah, oh no.
And started drying off
on
the floor. And then I put it on.
Oh no.
And came downstairs with it just open. And my friend took a video of me just naked and just wearing the robe coming down the stairs.
So this is why you had to quit med school. Yeah. I get it.
I was kicked out.
This is hilarious. Yeah. Can we take a quick break? I really need to pee.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Like the school itself was actually really good. Mm-hmm. Like I learned a lot, obviously, in the school.
Yeah.
But the organization of the school itself is not that good.
Okay.
Because the school is kind of split up to like different departments. So you have like the anatomy department and they have the physiology department and everything. It each department kind of rules itself.
Right. They don't communicate between them enough.
No, like there's no communication between them, like at all, really. Like I think like they meet up before like the semester starts, and they decide on like the dates for exams and stuff, and then there's no communication between them after that.
Right.
So like the principal isn't really, he's kind of a figurehead.
Yeah.
Kind of. He doesn't really, of course he has power within the school, but doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
So that was a bit rough.
I had a handful of friends who studied to be doctors in Poland. And the professors there are like gods.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was the same in Slovakia.
Oh yeah, it kind of depended on the professor.
Yeah.
But especially the older ones.
Yeah.
You couldn't say shit, and you have to like treat them with like the uttermost respect.
I heard some crazy stories. Like this one professor who was, I guess, a little bit like sexist and very like old school in his ways. He would like fail at a test. He would like fail every girl who came in a skirt that he felt was too short.
Really?
Yeah, that was like one of the things he did. He just failed them because of their too short skirts or whatever. And a buddy of mine, he had just gotten engaged. So he started wearing a ring.
Yeah.
And he was doing like an oral exam with this professor. And, you know, you're supposed to enter the room.
Yeah.
As he asks you some questions, you give him the answers, and that's the test. He comes in, my friend comes in, and before the questions start, he looks at his ring and he's like, "Oh, you recently got engaged, right?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah." So, how far are you willing to go to pass this test?
Okay.
And you know, my friend was like, without words, you're like, "What does that even mean? Like, what do you say?"
Exactly.
And before he even had a chance to say anything, the guy was like, "You failed. Go, get out of here." It's like,
what?
What are you saying?
Yeah,
like, what the fuck? That is the
worst.
It's so disgusting, man.
Exactly. It's the same. Like I had one of these types of teachers in my med school.
Oh yeah.
He was the head of the biophysics department, and he was extremely sexist and racist as well. Course. And we had like lectures in the mornings where we would show up, and it's this big lecture hall. You probably had like 100 students in there. And he would ask, you remember this one time he was asking this girl who was from Norway, like, "Where are you from?" And the girl was like, "I'm from Norway." Or no, where are you from originally? Because her parents were from India, I think, or something like that. And he was like, and she's like, "Norway." Like, no, where are you from originally? And he would not let it go. He'd like, again and again and again. I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And he would also give, like, the girls, because we had oral presentations, we had to do during the semester, and you would get, like, points. And there was this weird point system in biophysics, where you'd get, like, X amount of points for your presentations, and then we had, like, small tests during the semester,
right,
which you get points for as well, and then we had one big test, and, like, depending on how many points you got, you would get, like, the final exam would be easier.
Right.
So like you had, I don't know how many points it was. Like if you had like 400 points before you would show up to the final exam, you're almost guaranteed to like
to pass.
To pass.
It's much easier. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you couldn't really fail if you had that many points.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time, because in my group or class, we had 4 guys and 5 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And he would give the girls every single time like 5 less points for every single presentations. And like one friend of mine, his presentation was shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was so bad. And he could get like 50 points, I think, for the presentation. And he got 50 points for the presentation. And I was like, what the fuck? Like he didn't know shit.
Yeah.
Because he would ask, you had to present like I did presentation how like the flexibility of your blood vessels correlates with blood pressure.
Right.
Because your blood vessels can expand and contract, and that affects blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And he would like, I had to like show, we had this model and I had to show represented on the model and stuff. And so we had all these different kind of subjects we had to go through. And then like the next week, one of the girls did her presentation. It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave her 42 points.
Mm.
And I was like, what the fuck? After last week with my friend, like, how can you not give her full marks? She deserves like 60 points for that presentation. It was 10 times better than mine.
That's so discouraging.
I know.
That is so discouraging for that girl. Like, what does that do?
Exactly.
Like, even if you're, like, I'm trying to, like, imagine what someone like that, how he justifies it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, I don't know, is it just pure fucking hate sexism, or like can't that be justified? Like, what kind of lesson would you learn from something like that?
Exactly, like,
so stupid.
Oh, you're a woman, you get less. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And like the school, like I was in, it was like 70% girls and 30% guys.
Mm.
So 70% of the students got a lower grade than they deserved in that like class.
Maybe he wanted something more.
Maybe
that's the horrible truth, that some people take advantage of their situation and power, and
it was like I hated that teacher. He was so
can imagine.
Yeah, like 55, 60-year-old guy, and he always had a cup with a lid on it, and you were not allowed to ask him what was in the cup.
Okay.
Because it was definitely alcohol. And when you would do your presentation and stand next to him, you could smell the alcohol coming off him. And it was like, it was bad.
Are you sure it wasn't from you, though?
Yeah. At that point, I had finished drinking that much.
All right, so how long did you go to med school?
I went to med school for almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. Then you realized this is not for me.
Yeah, and also because like COVID hit in the middle.
Right.
That kind of...
You want to go back home.
Yeah, so like I went back home and then I did long distance, but the school wasn't really set up for long distance. And like the material which we got, like the lectures and stuff, were all quite bad and like made by each teacher. And like all the lectures were different depending on which teacher made the lecture.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes you had lectures where like the information you got from the lecture was hardly anything.
Mm-hmm.
We had this one teacher in anatomy, and she was actually the head of the anatomy department, and she was the first female surgeon in Slovakia. So she was a big deal.
Wow.
And she was extremely
2020.
Yeah. No, but she was old.
Okay, she had been around.
Yeah, she was probably like 63 or something.
Okay.
So it was probably So she was like the first surgeon in like probably the 80s or something.
Got it.
And but she was insanely smart. She knew everything about that.
Just imagine how hard she had to work.
Like she had to work probably like 100 times harder than the next guy.
Yeah.
Especially at that time as well. Like shit, the sexism she would have had to go through probably astronomical.
Yeah.
But her lecture and her slides were so bad. Because she was explaining, especially like we had a lecture concerning the brain.
And
the brain is complicated as fuck.
Yeah.
Because we kind of know what it does, but we don't really know what it does. So all of like, you have, for example, like reticular formation, for example.
What's it called?
Reticular formation.
Reticular. Like that, forming memories?
No, it's a part of the brain. It's between, if I remember correctly, between the pons and the mesencephalon.
Okay.
Oh no, pons and medulla oblongata. And it's basically a small, like, structure of like fibers, and they don't really know what it does, but they think it has to do with muscle coordination, muscle control. So like all of the answers were quite vague, and they all connected with everything, kinda. And it was so complicated. And her slides were basically like just arrows. You had like medulla oblongata, pons, reticular formation, just arrows connecting, and different color arrows mean different things, but there was no explanations what the arrows meant.
Yeah.
And you just looked at the lecture, like you sat the lecture and listened to her like explain it.
Yeah.
And her English wasn't perfect either. And like the technology she was using for the online lecture was quite bad. So like the sound cut out.
That's not very motivating to study.
And we had, and also because there's a 2-hour time difference in Iceland. So the lecture that would be 8 o'clock in Slovakia was 6 o'clock in the morning in Iceland. So I was sitting in my bedroom, like in my bed, just with my computer on my lap, just like, fuck.
Yeah,
trying to listen to this woman explain the anatomy of the brain.
Yeah.
Which is so insanely hard.
Yeah. People thought like, studying at a distance is easy or fun or whatever, but man, it's gotta be like it requires so much of the teacher or the professor,
and
it's so hard.
Yeah, and especially because this school was not set up to be a long distance school. They had no previous infrastructure to be a long distance school.
Of course, yeah.
So like the infrastructure they put on was really just a band-aid kind of. So it was so bad, and like the instructions were so bad.
It's so sad. Like, can you imagine like how many people worldwide had a similar experience during COVID?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're in a school that is not set up for long distance, and the school is trying its best.
Yeah, of course.
But the best is still quite shitty.
Yeah. I mean, distance teaching, just a distance like one lecture.
Yeah,
is hard to get through because it's so goddamn boring to sit and listen through Zoom or whatever.
Exactly.
To someone speak for 45 minutes or an hour.
Oh yeah, our lectures were 2 hours.
Yeah. Just that is hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And like imagine like all the like universities, colleges, high schools, elementary schools.
Yeah.
How many generations of people just lost it for education probably.
Exactly. Because like the education we got that year was quite bad.
Yeah.
And like for me it was also really hard because I went from living in Slovakia with my friends with like an amazing social life and a lot of support from my friends because we were like comparing material and sending each other material. Studying together. So I had like a support network. But then gone. Yeah. Instantly gone. Went to my hometown where like I'm the only kind of like I had none of my friends still lived in my hometown at that point. So I was alone, got like really lonely, started to struggle with depression again, and like it was not happening. So I didn't finish. That was the first semester of the second year. I had finished like the first year completely, and so I decided, okay, because of the COVID shit, I'm going to take a break for the second semester. So I came back the next year, just a grade behind.
To
the second year. Yeah,
Slovakia.
Yeah, then they opened up everything again.
Yeah.
So I did the second year again. And then I finished everything except for 2 tests. I had 2 subjects. I had, I think, biochemistry and I had histology. And because everything was still kind of screwed up because of COVID.
Yeah.
And I got COVID during finals for the like fall semester during Christmas. Like after Christmas, we had our tests in January, and I had been studying for my anatomy final for month and a half maybe of like 12-hour days.
Damn.
Because the way it works, every final is an oral exam, and you take all of the material from that subject, not each semester. So anatomy was 3 semesters worth of material.
Yeah.
So
big test.
Yeah. So basically everything like with the human body, all organs, bones, muscles, everything. And it was an insane test. Like the amount of notes that I had and the amount of material I had to go over was like.
Did you pass?
I passed.
Well done.
Thanks.
With COVID?
With COVID.
Damn.
Like, I got COVID, like, I was supposed to take my test on, I don't remember, like a Thursday or something.
Yeah.
And I got COVID. I started feeling bad on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a written exam that you had to pass on a Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the worst headache of my life.
Yeah.
I felt like my head was splitting apart.
Yeah.
And so, like, I took a home test, got it positive. Then I took a proper PCR test. That was positive. So I didn't take the test then. So at that point, I had been studying for a month. So I had to postpone it 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And take it 2 weeks later, which was okay, I guess. So I had a little bit more time to study.
Yeah.
But that week, the first week when I was sick, I couldn't really study.
No,
I had no energy to study.
Yeah.
The second week I studied okay, but I wasn't only putting like 5-6 hour days. Like I didn't have the stamina for anything more. So, and then I took my anatomy final, passed that. And then I had a histology final as well, but I didn't have time because the testing time was done. So I had to move that to like next semester, basically. Yeah. Then next semester started, and then we had 3 finals. I had my Slovakian final, I had my physiology final, and I had my biochemistry final.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was still kind of mixed up because there was a lot of like people were trying to take the histology exam during the winter. That wasn't really, you only had like 10 spots each time. So I never got, and like just the first 10 to like sign up got the spot.
Yeah.
So you had to be like exactly on the second to sign up. And I had missed it like 3 times. So I was just going to take it during the finals week. And it was just, there's a lot of shit going on. It was like, I couldn't really, I finished my physiology final, which was actually one of the hardest ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I studied for that for probably a month, I think. I failed it once because you get 3 tries.
Yeah.
I failed the oral exam once because we had a list. We get a list of the subjects we're supposed to go over.
Yeah.
And each subject is probably like 1 to 2 pages long. And we had 168 subjects.
It's a lot of subjects.
Yeah. And you draw 3.
Okay.
So, yeah. So like you draw a subject and
so you got to know them all pretty well then.
Yeah, exactly. And you can get really lucky.
Yeah.
Or you can get really unlucky.
Okay.
And I got a subject that wasn't on the list that we got.
Oh, that's nice.
So I just instantly failed.
Huh.
I drew like I had like
the Joker subject.
Yeah, I got like metabolism of lipids, memory, and something else. And the metabolism of lipids wasn't on the list.
That's rough.
So I knew the broad aspects of it, but I couldn't really explain it properly.
Okay.
And then I had the memory, which was he allowed me to do that question. So I finished that question, and then we had one more, which was like more practical.
Yeah.
Finished that question, okay, but he said like the first question was too bad. Like I had to get the other 2 like
the
perfect.
average wasn't enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so there was a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
Things weren't really going well. I guess that added to your decision to bail on.
Yeah,
on med school.
So I could take the other 2 exams in August.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to study like throughout the summer.
You were like, fuck that.
Yeah, I couldn't really motivate myself. Yeah. It was like this black cloud kind of just hanging over me the entire summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working at a lab in a hospital of my girlfriend's hometown.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I didn't feel good during that summer. And like, yeah, it was a bad summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Slovakia to take my tests, had like a panic attack like 2 days before I was supposed to take my biochemistry exam. And at that point, I called my parents and I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just have to do something else.
Yeah.
It's just too much. And I wasn't happy. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to quit.
Yeah.
So I quit, and then I moved back to my hometown with my parents, went back to therapy for a little bit, and went to with my parents to Crete in Greece, an island, for like 3 weeks, and I was just working during the winter. And
back to construction, or?
No, I was working in elementary school in my hometown.
Okay.
It was a very chill job. extremely easy. I was like a support person. We had one kid who had like Down syndrome, and one kid who was like very disabled, couldn't speak, couldn't communicate at all, couldn't really move. So like we're just trying to make his life as comfortable as possible and try to keep him like, give him the experiences. So we would drive him to class and like stuff like that, but he couldn't really do much.
Yeah.
So I was like, I would switch weeks. So 1 week I had him, and 1 week I had the kid with Down syndrome. I actually became quite close with the kid with Down syndrome, which was kind of fun. And then last March I moved back here
to Sweden.
I moved to Sweden. Yeah. And started working. I decided that because me and my girlfriend had been long distance for like 4 years.
Yeah, and she already lived in Sweden for a while at that point.
Yeah, like 3 years.
Right.
So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna move to Sweden, and because she's a professional dancer, and she like the opportunities for her in Iceland are basically zero.
Yeah.
So I decided to come here, and because I wanted to live with her, and things have been pretty good. The job is quite. Just the hours are so challenging, man.
The construction job here.
Yeah. Like just like waking up. I'm waking up at 5 a.m. every morning.
Yeah.
Start work at 6:30.
Yeah.
And I work till 4. And it takes me about an hour to get to and from work.
Yeah.
So like I'm back home usually between 4:30 and 5. It depends on when I get off, because sometimes I get to go off like 20 minutes before or something.
Yeah.
And then I like take a shower, and it's probably 5:15. Then I have 3.5, 4 hours to cook, eat, make everything ready for the next day.
It's the grind.
Yeah, so like I only have like 4 hours of free time each day.
It's adult life, man. Welcome.
It's challenging.
But yeah, of course, construction is rough as hell. And especially now it's cold as fuck out there.
Yesterday I was freezing.
And you're working outside every day.
I'm working outside every day. Yeah. And it's like it was minus 15 degrees like yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was so cold.
Have you seen Breaking Bad?
Yeah.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for you.
Thank you.
There's this scene in Breaking Bad where Gustavo Fring is talking to Walter White when Walter is bitching about something with the lab or whatever, or like the job, and he tells him, "You're a man. A man provides." Oh yeah, he's bitching about like what he's doing and his family doesn't like it, and the drug stuff, and he said, "A man provides. A man doesn't care like if he's hated or whatever. He provides."
Yeah.
And I have a tremendous amount of respect for people who do what you do, where you have like studied in med school.
Yeah.
Like you're clearly a very gifted, academic person. And then, life throws whatever life throws at you. And you do the work you need to do to provide for you, for your girlfriend, for your family. I mean, that's a good thing.
No, thank you.
That's something I respect a lot.
Thank you.
A lot of people are like, once they're academics, they're like too fancy to do the hard work.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go back. Or like,
exactly. Or it's not even going back. It's doing what needs to be done. But that's how a lot of people perceive it, like going back. And I don't like that. I've done like manual labor after graduating from my own like 5 years at university. And I remember people looking at me like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? And I liked it. I didn't do something as tough as construction. I worked like wardrobes and stuff like that. But with 19-year-olds who are doing some extra money, and I never liked that. I hate that attitude of like,
because like for me, because I was always quite good in school, and like elementary school, high school, like I always did pretty good, and I always had a good head on my shoulders. And like thankfully, like my family is extremely supportive. I have like the most amazing family like I could have hoped for. They are like my parents. They are. When I just told them that I decided that I was going to quit high school, there was no backlash. There was nothing like, oh, you should power through or whatever. They were just like, okay, fine. Like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And they've always been like, the amount of support I've had from my family has been amazing. And
That's so important.
It is so important. And I could not be more grateful for the support I've had from my family and my friends as well. And just like having that kind of foundation of support allows you to do so much that you wouldn't think you would be able to do.
Yeah.
Because like the job I'm doing now, like especially now during the winter, has been hard.
Yeah.
Like before the Christmas vacation, like I was so burnt out. And also because like I am a bee person. Like
a bee person. You like bees?
Yes, I like bees a lot. No, we have this saying in Iceland, we have an A person, a B person.
Okay.
A B person likes to sleep in, likes to stay up late. So like more of that kind of spectrum. An A person wakes up earlier, but it goes to bed earlier.
Okay.
But I'm definitely on the other side.
Are you?
Yeah. Okay. I prefer that a lot more. So waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning is really hard for me.
Got it.
I always had a hard time falling asleep because my brain just goes into overdrive as soon as my head hits the pillow. I start just...
Same here.
Yeah. So like I'm always like, takes me a minimum 30 minutes to fall asleep.
But how do you feel about bees?
I like bees.
They're cool.
Yeah, bees are so important.
Do you know that they communicate with like dancing?
Yeah, they communicate with dancing to signal to the other bees like, oh, there's danger here, or we have flowers
like,
here.
There's a good tree over there. We can make a nest. It's insane. Bees are so cool.
So cool.
Sorry.
No, it's. I completely agree. And like bees are probably one of the most important species that we have on Earth because they provide, I think, like 50% of our food or something like that.
Yeah. They're like, so goddamn cool.
Our pollination, it's insane the amount of work that they do for us as a species. And without bees, we'd be dead. We'd starve.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sidetrack. Yeah, a bit of a sidetrack there.
but I mean, just doing the work, what needs to be done. That's impressive. And you have a very optimistic, positive attitude and vibe. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, because every time we met, you just have a great a lot of smile, a lot of positive energy, and I like that.
I don't know. For me, I've always been a positive person, I would say. Even though I've been through a lot of shitty situations in my life, and I struggled with depression, anxiety, and I think it started. I was bullied a little bit when I was a kid. That was a bit hard, but I didn't really realize at the time what was happening. And
was it for your weird fit toenails?
No, I was a weird kid.
Okay.
I was this skinny nerd who played football, who was kind of good at sports. And I've always been sporty at the same time, kind of. When I was younger, I trained football, I trained skis, I trained badminton, and I've always been, quite sporty, but a huge nerd at the same time, and video games and all of that stuff as well. And also I would sometimes spend evenings when I was 13 years old on the internet reading about black holes or the fourth dimension. What is that? Or dimensions and so
you're a curious kid.
Yeah, very. I've always been very curious. So I don't know what happened, why I started being bullied, but I think it's just because I was small and skinny and easy target. Because I didn't really fight back either. So it's always the easy target that gets hit.
Yeah.
So and I always kind of just bounced off. Because if when the bully is trying to bully you and you just laugh and you just smile, it stops. They don't push it further if you kind of take in with the joke, even though it affects you. On the inside, but the bullying doesn't get that bad.
Right.
So that was kind of just a defense mechanism that I evolved with me, kind of.
Letting things bounce off of you.
Yeah, exactly. And today, small things don't really bother me. And if they bother me, I just kind of wait it out for maybe 10 minutes or something, and then I forget about it.
Yeah.
So I don't really let the small things affect me, or try not to. Because when I was, I think it was 14, my sister got cancer. And then my dad got a stroke. When I was 17, I think. I had my driver's license. I remember my mom, I was at work during the summer, my mom called me and she was like, you have to come home. And I was like, I can't come home, I'm at work. And she was like, no, you have to come home now. So I drove home, and then my dad had been taken to the hospital by an ambulance. And I drove, like, me and my mom, because my mom didn't really drive at that point. And then my dad was taken to the hospital in the town I went to high school in. So it's like an hour away. It's like a lot bigger town, better hospital. And like I remember I drove my mom there, and I remember just seeing my dad in the hospital room, and he couldn't speak, couldn't really move. He was like, his right side was completely paralyzed, and he was always doing like this, pointing at his heart and pointing at us,
like tapping at his chest. Yeah, his heart, and at you guys, like I love you.
And that was a hard time.
Oof, man.
But he's fine today, and he probably has 9 lives. The guy's like a cat. He should be dead.
Well, so if he's your dad, I can see a little bit of that.
Yeah, I definitely got that from my dad, I think.
Yeah, and, you guys have more than 9 lives. Sounds to me like.
Yeah, and then my parents got arrested like a year later, because my dad was like assistant bank manager, and there was some shady shit going on in the bank, and I was never really told what happened.
So it's not for having underage kids working at their company?
No.
Okay. that one.
that would have been quite, I think, a little bit worse. But no, there was no child exploitation. There was, but it wasn't documented.
Got it.
Yeah, so they got arrested.
Oh man, a lot going on in a few short years.
Oh yeah, and it was similar things like up until I was like 24. Every single year. Like a big hit.
Jeez.
And like when big things like that keep happening, you're always waiting for the next big hit. You
get anxious.
Yeah, because you never really get the time or like the opportunity to completely open yourself up again. You always kind of have this armor or like mask on.
Yeah.
So you don't really. It's really hard to. And that's one of the things I still struggle with today, especially like with my girlfriend. It's just being honest about how I feel. And that's one of the things that I want to work on more. So I'm going back to therapy, actually. And I've actually there's a really cool thing that you have here in Sweden. I think it's called Mental or something like that.
Mindler, maybe.
Mindler, yeah.
Online therapy, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very cheap. You can like pick your language, and you have like these assignments that you do on the app and stuff. And I was looking into it like during Christmas. And I was like, I think it's one of the things I need to work on, like myself with. Like I need to be better, just for the health of my relationship as well.
Yeah.
And just with my friends and family in general. And so, yeah, I have a therapy appointment for next weekend, I think.
That's good.
So I'm gonna try to work on. That's one of the aspects that I want to work on of myself.
Yeah.
And so like my parents got arrested. My mom didn't know anything, but because one of the few things. Company that my parents owned, they had like a debt written off for I think like 4 million Swedish or thereabouts, the amount. And because my mom was the bookkeeper for that company, so my mom was involved but not involved, but she didn't know anything of this. And my dad became kind of the scapegoat for all the shady shit,
right?
Because my dad was a part of some of it. And he always admitted that to us and to like the authorities. But then there was the bank manager and another guy.
Once someone confesses, they become
the scapegoat for everything.
What's called a Christmas tree.
Yeah, exactly. You just hang
everything on them.
Oh yeah. And my dad became that person.
Oh man.
And there were friends that we had been friends with my family for years, 20 plus years, that turned on us and like started like there were people who like called my dad, started just yelling at him. Like that he cheated himself, like them out of something or whatever.
Yeah.
So like at that time we knew kind of which people were our friends.
Yeah.
And which people weren't our friends.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of support as well. So we had people who, I remember random people coming to visit after that happened, and random people I had never seen in my life. And I remember especially this one guy came over. My dad wasn't home, but he was coming home. So a guy knocked on the door, and I should like let him in the living room, and he told me that probably like he kept on telling me that my dad saved his life because he was having some financial troubles. my dad did some shady shit to help him, but he saved his life. Because he was like, he had no way out. And he just kept telling that again and again and again, that my dad saved his life. And when my dad was arrested, they... what's it called again? Like, not interviewed, interrogated.
Right.
Him for, I think, 6 hours.
Damn.
This was a year after he had his stroke. My dad had a lot of speech therapy after that, after he had his stroke. And he still, when he gets tired, he starts to slur his speech, and it's like 10 years ago it happened. So he's still not 100%, but he's still almost 100%, I would say. And so like, and my dad's like was extremely tired. It just kept berating him, and eventually it just cracked, and he just confessed everything, even to
just
stuff.
To stop the
because he was done. And then because they told him that he would get to go home after interrogation, but they threw him in a cell.
Damn.
And then they started interrogating my mom. And then at some point during my mom's interrogation, this lady comes in and says they're really worried about my dad because he doesn't look good in the cell. My mom was like, "No shit, you idiots."
Yeah.
And then they asked, "I think we should call the priest." And my mom was like, "The priest? What the fuck are you talking about? You need to call a doctor. The man is sick.
Yeah.
He just had a stroke a year ago. Like, come on." So they called the doctor and just hand the phone through. My dad doesn't want to talk to him, so he just turned off the phone call. And my dad got released, I think, like 6 hours after that or something. Came home, and he was a wreck.
Yeah.
And my dad had struggled with depression, and he had gone to like this special like rehab place in Iceland where you have for depression. And he had done that like a couple of years before. So, and then like the day after my dad went, because we have horses. So my dad took the dog to check on the horses, and my mom knew like the connection between the dog and my dad was you couldn't describe it. Like my dad loved that dog more like than anything in the world almost. And so my mom knew that because he took the dog, my dad wasn't going to do anything, because my dad would never try anything with the dog with him. And my dad came home, and then an hour later we had a guy who took care of our horses like most of the time, and he called my mom and told her the gun is gone from where they kept it in the horse stables.
Right.
And so my mom confronted my dad, and thankfully my mom had called her brother, who lives on the south side of Iceland, like the day that it happened, and asked him to come. And like straight away in the morning, the day after, he started driving. It's a 6-hour drive. So thankfully he and my mom managed to convince my dad to give him the gun. And he had shotgun shells in his pocket when they were talking to him. So yeah, that happened.
Damn.
And I think, and then like the whole process with the case and everything started, and it finished, I think 3 years ago was when the case was completely finished. And in the meantime, like I think a year after my dad was arrested, he tried to kill himself. And then I think a year after that, he tried it again. So yeah, there's a lot of shit that...
Damn, man. That's rough.
Yeah. And that's why, because we were all fine. My entire family. Nobody's dead. Nobody is in jail.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, okay, they took the house that I grew up in. The bank completely took the house, the cars, everything. Like, my dad went bankrupt because they just took all of his assets. And me and my girlfriend talked about this a few times. Like, she grew up in, like, lower middle class. Well, I grew up in higher middle class. And I grew up quite spoiled, actually. Like, very spoiled, actually. And things that I thought were so normal growing up, like eating really good food, going, like, traveling, going on vacation 2 times a year to Spain or to Florida or whatever. That was normal for me.
Yeah.
And, like, most of my friends were living in kind of the same situation.
Yeah.
So, like, I didn't really understand that wasn't normal for most people. So like when me and my girlfriend, we started being together, I kind of realized, saw a different kind of picture, like that wasn't the norm.
Yeah.
So like we had quite a lot of assets which were taken away. So for a while, my parents kind of struggled with money and stuff. But today they have their own company.
Oh, that's good.
They're both working in like booking, like with money. We have quite a few actually very good friends which have like fishing companies, so they do the books for those companies. And then my actually built like a garage as well with like fixed cars. And my dad has two of his friends who work there. One actually, both of them actually have gotten strokes as well.
Damn.
One can't really use his right hand, and his right leg is quite bad, but he can still move around with a crutch.
Yeah.
And he's like a trained mechanic. And the other guy is really good with like computers and stuff. So those two, like we have like a side business where like they fix cars and are like employed by my dad.
Okay.
And like without my dad, they wouldn't be employed.
Yeah.
And so we had this sign made, we never made the sign, but they want to make a sign made where they'd say like 3 disabled and a dog.
Nice.
Because my dog was always at work before he died. And and my mom is actually starting another company where she's gonna make like stones out of plastic and sand to like do like roads, pavements, stuff like that. And she actually gotten 1 grant for that. She's waiting for a 2nd grant so she can buy a machine to do that. So we're all okay today.
Man, we're full circle to where we started the conversation. Icelandic people are tough.
Oh yeah, we're stubborn fuckers.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's a lot of shit in a short few years. Yeah. You mentioned the anxiety, like what's next? Are you still struggling with that, or have you been able to get away from that?
I was actually thankfully been like the anxiety and the depression is mostly under control. I have my good days and I have my bad days, which is like normal for anybody.
Everyone has, yeah.
But like mine can get a bit more extreme because of the shit I went through and like with struggling with depression and anxiety. But it's nothing compared to how it was at some points. Like I remember times where I got anxiety just like stepping like out of bed or taking a shower or just eating even.
Yeah.
Like there was a time I kind of like I didn't starve myself, but I kind of starved myself.
Yeah.
Because at that time that was like when I was in high school, and I was training 12 to 14 times a week because I was training with my age group, with the professional team, and going to the gym.
Right.
So I should have been eating like 5,000-6,000 calories.
Yeah.
But I was only eating like 3,000. So like I wasn't eating close to enough when I was at my worst point, kind of. But then like I kind of got over that point and started eating a lot more, and like things started to get better. And also just with, I don't know, just it's weird, like because I never got really any like therapy or medication, or I've tried being on medication, I've tried therapy, but it
like
didn't.
Antidepressants.
Yeah. But it never really stuck. And I took maybe antidepressants for 3-4 months, and then I can just stop taking them.
Probably good.
And so like I've never, like I'm not on any medication now. I haven't been for a few years, and I don't know, I never really connected with like therapists I went to. Also never really connected with them. So I'm like, now I'm kind of hoping that I connect with the therapist and kind of, I really want to stick to it and really want to work on this aspect of myself.
Yeah.
Because I know it is a problem for me. Because I try to like, I think it's kind of the conditioning of going through all of that shit is not letting small things bother me.
Yeah.
And they don't really bother me, really. But then at the same time, I don't share how I really feel. And then things kind of build up and then they explode.
Right.
And that's a really bad thing, like way to be. So that's one of the things I really want to work on myself on and get better at.
CBT.
Yeah, that's the one I'm going.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah,
but I mean, like I said, I really every time we hung out, like you give out a very very positive vibe. You're a very outgoing person, and not just outgoing, but really like positive, and I appreciate that. So you never know what someone has going on.
No, definitely not.
Behind, the smile or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But I'm glad things seem to be a little bit in order and not as crazy as they were in those years. How do you manage to keep a positive vibe, keep things going?
I don't think it's a conscious decision really. Mm-hmm. It's kind of just the way I am, and for me, I've always felt happiest when I'm helping somebody. Mm-hmm. That was one of the main motivators for me to become why I wanted to become a doctor. Mm-hmm. Because I remember when I worked in a hospital back in my hometown, just as like taking care of people, like you're helping them dress, you're helping like giving them food. What's that called in English? Like
personal assistant, something like that.
No, but I was hired by the hospital. I was like working in the hospital.
Like undersköterska in Swedish.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a nurse assistant or whatever. I don't know what it's called in English.
Yeah. So I was working as that I did that for like 2 or 3 summers. Mm-hmm. And it always like just made me feel good doing that and just helping people, talking and the people I was working with in my hometown were mostly like 90 plus. Mm-hmm. So we're all really, really old. A lot of them had dementia or some sort of condition. Mm-hmm. And we had a big variety of a group of people. So we had people who like their body just gave up, but their head was completely clear.
Right.
And then they had people who their body was completely fine, but the head just went away. Yeah. So, and it was a really good place to work because you would socialize with these people who really didn't get much socializing. Mm-hmm. And you would start making connections with these people. And it was really lovely because you started to get to know these people. And I remember anytime I had like time during my workday, instead of just sitting in like the place we had where we had like
the staff area.
Yeah, the staff area. I would rather go and sit with people and talk to them.
Yeah.
And it just made you feel so good to see them smile and see them laugh and just helping these people who had a really, really hard time and hard life. Mm-hmm. And you're just joking with these people. And and helping these people out just made me feel really good.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do with my life. Like I've been thinking about a lot because I don't want to be working construction forever. Right. Definitely not.
Yeah.
It's not what I aspire to be. I have some opportunities at the job I'm at now to like go from being a worker to becoming a manager. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to explore those options, but I'm not really sure if that is my place to be. And I think I was talking to a friend during Christmas, and she's studying prosthetics in Norrköping.
Okay.
So that was kind of interesting, and felt like that's something I could do.
Construction of prosthetics, or
just construction, fitting, figuring out what's best for people, stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's something really cool. And with like my medical background, something
that party week you were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I can help the people party a lot.
You've seen a lot of people lose limbs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the only thing is with that, like in Norrköping, because Olaf doesn't have that many opportunities there. So that kind of there's some things that need to be figured out, but I'm not stressing over it. Things go the way they go.
Right.
But yeah, I think like helping people always, I felt happiest helping people.
Good. Then you should do that.
So yeah, so that's kind of probably that's one of the reasons I am the way I am, being positive.
Yeah.
Because when I'm positive, other people become positive around me. Mm-hmm. That makes me feel better. Mm-hmm. So it's a completely selfish. I'm doing it for completely selfish reasons.
Yeah.
But it makes, I don't know, it just makes life.
If it works, it works.
Yeah, and it makes life easier.
Yeah.
Like when you meet new people and you're positive and you're happy, people want to talk to you, people want to share, people are like, for example, with my job now, I have a really good relationship with my bosses. Because sometimes on breaks, we like talk about, tell stories, what happened, and like talk about funny things and stuff like that. So you make connections with people. It just makes everything lighter and easier. So it makes the day a lot better. Yeah.
Not more important, but as important as doing good work is how easy are you to work with? How fun are you to work with?
Exactly.
That makes a huge difference.
Oh, 100%. So like that's one of the things that I try. That's why one of the reasons why I really try to be positive is just it makes everything easier. Yeah, and
also like being negative doesn't improve anything.
No, that's the thing.
You're just killing the vibe for everyone, including yourself.
That's the thing, and this makes even like if you're alone and you're negative, it makes everything a lot harder. Yeah, you're less likely to do the dishes, or you're less likely to go to the store and make food, or go to the gym, whatever. Yeah, it makes everything 10 times harder for yourself being negative.
For sure.
So that's like, yeah.
But then there's the balance, like when there actually is shit to deal with, talk about. Yeah, you gotta do that and not let it, blow up.
That's the thing that I kind of have to work on is find that balance, to allow when I am not feeling good, to allow myself to feel good, and to share it with the people who care about me that I don't feel good, because the people who care about you want to help you. Yeah. But you have to allow them to help you. And that's one of the things I've always struggled with, is to allow people to help me. Because I don't know if it was because my parents tried to protect me that much going through all of this shit. Yeah. That I always kind of felt alone without being alone. Yeah. Because like I wasn't in the loop, and I wasn't talking about the things that were bothering us or that mattered. So I kind of dealt with all of these things alone. Even though, like, if I would have shared, I wouldn't have been alone. Yeah. Like, it's all on, like, that's completely on me. But, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I am the way I am, with not having difficulty to share how I feel at the moment. Because I have no problem talking about my background, what happened to me, or that I've struggled with depression and all that stuff. Like, for me, it's one of the things that should be talked about. For sure. And especially with my friends, I want to tell them about what happened to me, just so that like they understand me better. Yeah. And I remember my friend in high school, because I was like really not showing up to class. And one of my best friends in high school, she called me up like during lunch, and I hadn't showed up for the morning classes. And she was like, "I'm taking you to lunch." And I was like, "No, I don't want to go. Like, I don't care. I'm taking you to lunch." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So we went to this place, like this Mexican fusion, like Americanized Mexican food. And I remember we were sitting there and we were eating. I'm just talking about small talk, basically. Yeah. And I remember consciously deciding to open up and tell her what was going on, because I hadn't told her anything. Right. And I just remember her just starting to cry. She cried her eyes out. And then I started to cry. And we just sat there at this place during lunch and just crying. Yeah. like hysterically crying, both of us. Yeah. And it was such a good moment. And like, she's one of my best friends today. And like, I love her completely, because I've always known, because she lives in Copenhagen now. And like, we haven't met each other that much in the past 6 years. We try to meet up whenever we can, and like she came to visit us during the summer. She came here for a week-long weekend, and then we went. Me and my girlfriend, we went took a road trip and ended up in Copenhagen. We spent a few days with her, and it's always just so easy. Yeah, it just makes sense. The friendship, it's like it's never, even though we haven't talked for a month. Yeah. And then I call her.
You've seen each other yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. It's never any awkwardness. It's never anything that like I feel like I can't talk about with her.
That's nice.
And those are like the type of friends that I really, really appreciate.
Of course, yeah.
And I have like, it's her, another girl from which I met in high school. Part of that, like the same friend group that I made there. And then one of my friends from my hometown. And then another guy I met from my high school. like from the football team I was in high school. So those are 4 are like kind of my best friends.
No.
And then like I don't really have that many friends here in Sweden. I have like Theo, and I like to call you my friend,
of course.
And then just kind of just people I met through Olaf, basically.
No, but it takes a while. You need 10 months.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Sweden is also like Iceland. People are a little bit reserved, so it takes a little while. But it seems like the group is growing a little bit and it's getting good.
Slowly and steadily.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about, like opening up, talking about these things, it's also a way of helping others.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something I talked about a lot on this podcast. A lot of people have opened up about various things, mental health issues and stuff like that. And I struggled with depression when I was somewhere between 23 and 25. And, you know, opening up is good for you, obviously.
Yeah,
when you start talking about the problems, you deal with them.
Yeah.
But it also opens the door for people in your surroundings to open up about their shit. And I can't tell you how many friends came up to me after I started talking about my concerns and, you know, told me about theirs. And that way we help and support one another.
Exactly.
So I very much appreciate you sharing this stuff. Very, very like, deep personal stuff and tough things to talk about, but it helps others as well. So
yeah, exactly, because it gives other people the opportunity to be vulnerable and like know that is like, if I take the step to show you that I'm comfortable being vulnerable around you, that kind of maybe helps you to be able to take the step as well. Because it is hard to open up. It can be really hard to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Especially like when you're guys, you're supposed to be tough. Yeah. Like the concept, the social concept is like nothing's supposed to bother you.
Yeah, for sure.
You're just supposed to be able to
shut up. Like I said earlier, Gustavo Fring.
Yeah, exactly.
A man provides, and there's something to that.
Yeah.
But there are dark sides to it as well.
Exactly, because it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because guys are not supposed to be like in touch with their feelings, or like sometimes it kind of feels like you're not supposed to have feelings.
Yeah. It's getting better.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
But there's still...
It's a little long way to go.
The machismo, yeah.
Yeah. And that's like... And I remember like also like 2 of my friends from Slovakia as well, who I lived with, who were like from the same high school I was in. Those are 2 also, like 2 of my probably better friends. I never got as close to them as the other ones, but still consider them extremely good friends. And there was sometimes that we were like, just sit on the sofa and just talk about these kind of things. And there's a lot of, it's very, cathartic, like,
that is a word. I don't know what it means, but it is a word.
Yeah, I don't remember the pronunciation of it. But yeah, it just like, just bring things up to the surface and don't let them like bubble.
Yeah.
It helps a lot. And just,
for sure, yeah.
And there's also because, especially like when you're living with a person, like when you share things like that and share your struggles you're going through, it helps that person to understand better what you're going through. Because like people don't see that if you don't let them see that. So like so they can act accordingly as well, because most people are good people.
Yeah.
And they will act accordingly if you let them, or like show them the side that you want to show.
Yeah, for sure. It's beautiful, man. I'm glad you're doing better.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you share all this. It's very important to talk about these things. We could talk for hours.
Oh yeah,
for sure,
easily.
But I figured let's wrap things up on a lighter note.
Yeah.
We've talked about Iceland, Slovakia, Sweden. Give me one good reason to visit each.
Okay. Let's start with Slovakia.
Let's start with Slovakia.
Yeah. Slovakia is a beautiful country. You have amazing nature. You have the people there are, like for example, like from the Scandinavian culture, they are quite different. But all of the people I've met there are so welcoming, and they're
in Slovakia.
Yeah, and they're so nice. They are different. They have different cultures. They have different standards, and you kind of have to roll with it. But it was a great place to live, and like the football team, I was like where I met the most of the Slovak people I met. Everyone was extremely fun and easy and nice to be around. So I definitely recommend going to Slovakia and especially seeing the nature, because it's a beautiful country.
Yeah. So the nature and the people.
Yeah.
Let's go to Sweden, and then we'll finish strong with Iceland.
Let's finish strong with Iceland. Okay. Sweden also is
cold as fuck.
Cold as fuck. Not as cold as Iceland though.
No, probably.
But still cold as fuck. So I would, for example, like I haven't traveled that much around Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
I've mainly just been in Stockholm.
Mm-hmm.
But Stockholm is a beautiful city. The people are also very nice, very welcoming, and all the people I've met here. It's quite similar to Iceland, like with the mentality of the people that you kind of have to get through this barrier.
Yeah.
And I would say recommend visiting Stockholm in the summer, because Stockholm,
yeah,
because the summers here are better than in Iceland, obviously.
Yeah, summers here are great.
The summers here are so good. Like the last summer, like it was so nice. Just like
the last summer sucked. There was rain for like a month and a half straight.
Yeah, but for me, like I'm from Iceland, dude.
Fair enough. It's all relative.
Yeah, like compared to our summers, that summer was amazing for me.
Okay, cool.
And just like walking around the city, going bada, and like walking around in small forests that you have here is like it's so nice, and just for me it's like because I love nature and I love being around nature. So like going like with a group of friends and like going to a random ass beach and go swimming in the river, and like it's so much fun.
Yeah. All right, so Sweden also nature and the people.
Yeah.
All right, so you're not allowed to answer the nature and the people about Iceland.
That's not possible.
We already know. Yeah. That's the main ones. So give me something new for Iceland.
New for Iceland. We have a lot of interesting culture in Iceland. Like culture, but like kind of the history of Iceland is very interesting. Mm-hmm. So like there's a lot of things that you can learn about Iceland, the struggles that Iceland went through, and the history that the Icelandic people went through is very interesting and fun to learn. So that you have a lot of opportunities. They're kind of more hidden because obviously the nature in Iceland, the way it is, most of the tourism is focused on that.
Yeah.
But if you look a little bit deeper, you can find a lot of interesting stories about Iceland, all the way back to like 800s, and how the people settled there. And you can go to places where like the first democracy was founded actually in Iceland.
Oh, cool.
And they actually have the place where that happened. And so like you can find a lot of interesting history and interesting culture in Iceland.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it was empty. There was nothing people there before the Vikings came. So you can really track the history in a way which you can't in other places, because there's always someone there before.
Yeah, and also like the history is also very well documented.
Right.
From where like the 1000 and up to modern times, it is quite well documented. Mm-hmm. So like there's a lot of things you can go and see, and also the food. Mm-hmm. If you want to try weird ass foods, you can go to Iceland and try some weird ass foods.
I'm allergic to fish and seafood.
Oh fuck, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
But we have extremely good lamb.
Oh yeah.
We have the best lamb in the world.
Nice.
From my perspective.
Nice.
Because like our lamb is semi-wild.
Okay.
Because during the summers we release like the sheep.
Yeah, because there are no predators out.
No, exactly. Yeah. So basically during
that's cool.
When spring hits, all of them get released into the mountains.
Yeah.
And they're free the entire summer. They just roam around and eat like all of the wild grasses and berries and stuff that you can find. And then each fall we go into the mountains and go get them.
Nice.
Sheep are so boring. They're so stupid. My God, they're so stupid.
Yeah.
Because I've done that since I was a kid.
Going getting sheep in the mountains.
Yeah.
And they're stubborn.
They're so stubborn and they're so stupid. And like there was a plant that was introduced. I don't know what's it called in English, but it's called lupina in Icelandic.
Okay.
And it's like a tall grass with like purple flowers on it.
Okay.
It's a quite a pretty plant, but it's bad for the environment because it smothers other vegetation.
Got it.
And the sheep love to eat it because it gets them high.
Oh, nice.
And so, like, during fall, they've been eating this plant because, especially like in my hometown, you have this massive hillside where just this plant grows.
Uh-huh.
And when you come to the sheep that are in that part of the mountain, they're high off. They're high as a kite.
I feel like the sheep are not as dumb as you make them seem.
Yeah.
They're like, do we want to go back and become food, or do we want to stay in the mountains and get high?
Yeah, exactly. But if they stay in the mountains, they die during the winter. They can't survive during the winter.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I remember like...
It's a good life though.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I remember when, especially one time I was herding, we had like probably 4 or 5 sheep.
Yeah.
And they were just walking, and they were all like kind of like walking like this, like they're drunk. And one sheep, it stumbles and just rolls
down the hill,
down like 130 meters or something, just and it's like bouncing. And I'm just looking and going like, that sheep is dead. And then she stands up and just keeps on walking. I'm like,
it's like drunk mountain climbing.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, yeah.
Nice.
But I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Actually, which we talked about last night when Maya came over.
Okay.
Do you like Harry Potter?
I've never read or seen Harry Potter.
Yeah, so that's fine. That's answered there. We don't need to talk about it anymore. We actually made a joke that I would ask you this question, and I was like, yeah, no, it's over.
Yeah, no, fair enough. No, I don't have anything against Harry Potter. I'm sure it's a great franchise. It just never was my thing. So,
yeah. Understandable.
Yeah. I was an adult.
Yeah, when it came out.
You know.
Yeah.
No, it's a great thing probably. What's her name? The author.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, obviously a genius. So.
Oh yeah, but she kind of went off the rails. So. But let's not.
This is where you want to end things.
No.
No.
Let's end on a happy note.
J.K. Rowling did great, fantastic work.
Yeah.
For the planet.
Yeah, she did.
Yes.
Thank
you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for having a great conversation here and telling us about Iceland and all the other stuff and sharing some personal stuff as well. Very much appreciated.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a lot of fun.
Definitely. We'll do it again.
Yeah, sounds good.
And thank you to everyone who was listening or watching. See you next time.